Hello, everybody. It's TACIS. Welcome to the Colin Show, where it's normally transatlantic, except for all the times that Katie's not here. Um, I'm Luxander. Great to see everybody. Joining me today is Josie Caballero Luxander.
You sound like you're underwater.
Am I underwater?
Oh, now you're good, now you're good. So, I'm
I don't know what
assuming you're
happened.
asking how I was doing. So
Yeah,
yeah, I'm doing good. You can see that I'm, like, in full candidate regalia right now, as coming from another event. But yeah, I've been good. It's been a hectic day. I went to an event, so a lot of people know that I'm vegan, so I went to an event earlier this morning, and usually I'm used to like breakfast not being okay, but it was like a luncheon and a breakfast. So I guess it was a brunch in a sense. I guess what it was. But it was divided into two sections. And when I walked up to the lunch section, I was like, you put butter in the veggies? Like you put butter in the potatoes? Like, no. So I had a cup of coffee for breakfast and a cup of coffee for lunch.
nice.
Yeah.
Healthy choices. Good choices.
Healthy choices. So I'm a little antsy, but I did eat like an instant like pad thai. So I do have some energy. So
Got some
but yeah, it's
carbs.
just one of those days. I run on caffeine. I can't help it, as comes with age. So
This is true. I, on the other hand, have, like, really minimized my caffeine. I do tea, but I can go without and I don't get, like, any noticeable headache or anything, because like, caffeine like, coffee levels of caffeine just make my heart act up, and I'm just like, "I don't wanna deal with heart palpitations today." They're not dangerous,
Mhm.
but they're uncomfortable, and I just don't wanna deal with it. In contrast to you, in your fancy, "I'm a serious person" regalia, I am representing the ween! It is
I
ween.
love
This
it.
is yeah, I don't think we have any programming scheduled for tomorrow, yeah, like,
Oh, we
I
do.
am here to represent the ween.
You
Oh, we
do?
have a "Cuz I Wanna" tomorrow or something?
Yep, it's Forrest and Jimmy for it was their
Woo!
fundraiser reward. Yep.
Okay, Forrest and Jimmy doing a "Cuz I
Oh.
Wanna" tomorrow at 6 PM Central, so make sure your notifications are turned on for that, and also hit the like button, babes. It's early in the show, but those likes are a quick, easy, free way to support us. What are we doing? How do we do this? Do we take one call and then do a poll, or are we talking about poll now? How do we do this? It's been I do so many other shows
Uh,
now, and I forget how TACUS works.
yeah. It's choose your own adventure when you're in the driver's seat. So, we can go ahead and I think we should just go over the poll and have other folks, have an opportunity to call in.
Yes, we do
So,
still have plenty of open lines. Get in there. The number is 720-619-2288. We love to get at least one or two spicy calls in here, but if you just want to get some advice or anything like that, if you want to ask Josie questions about how to run for local political office, that's a great time to call and get those comments and questions out of your system. Uh, for last week, our poll was: should health clinics sacrifice care for trans youth to prevent loss of funding to care for trans adults? So basically, like, in order for these clinics to stay open for the general trans population, they might have to restrict access for youth. Or, like, I don't know, is the question like, should they resist the like restriction to trans youth? Should they just continue providing care for trans youth and risk closing down for everybody? I think it's a complicated question, so it doesn't surprise me that the poll was a little bit a little bit closer than it usually is. A lot of our polls are like you could only reasonably oppose the thing in a very small kind of technical kind of sense. So yeah, I didn't look at the comments of this one though, so I'm not sure what people said.
yeah, I think that in a way it's preemptively complying, and we should not be complying. Like we should be until the police and everybody's banging at the door, pulling you into handcuffs is when things should be disrupted. But medical care should never be disrupted because of people's opinions, and thinking, "Oh, I need to reserve this so I can save this." It's like you're compromising with yourself, you're negotiating with yourself. Don't do it. Just keep operating. Do your Hippocratic oath and provide medical necessary health care for all people who need it.
Yeah, it sucks when there's, like, a conflict between upholding your oath as a medical professional versus, like, the law changing around you and requiring you to be a worse healthcare provider and violate your oath in that way. So yeah, it's definitely a tough question. And I know that some doctors are like, if I would lose my license, lose my medical license, then I literally can't help anybody. So yeah, I guess like it's just like a personal decision that everybody has to make. And when that's what be gay, do crime, be about. It's like it's not like, "Oh, you're gay, go do things that are normally illegal." It's like when being gay becomes illegal, you must continue to be yourself, even though it is a crime. Crime doesn't
Mhm.
mean or not. So anyway, thank you so much everybody to responding. Thank you to everybody who commented on that one. We appreciate it. We have a new poll for this week. We're not going to discuss it right now. We will get a poll up for you in the chat so you can vote there in the chat. And if you want to elaborate on it, you can let us know in the chat or on the comments of this post. Do you agree with the statement, every trans suicide is a murder by those in power? And we've given you a little bit more options than usual. So feel free to not be annoying about pedantry this time. Love you. Appreciate it. Okay, bye. All right, so that's the polls for this week. Um, I guess we can go ahead and take a look at call queue. We have one person waiting right now. This is Roman, he, him from California. Roman, you are live on the line with Luxander and Josie. How's it going today?
Oh, hi. How are you guys doing?
Pretty
Doing
okay so far.
good.
I'm good.
Lay it on us. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, so my original question was, how do you deal with someone in the workplace who claims to be an ally, but are unwilling to hear feedback? But it's a little bit more complicated than just that question because the person that I'm talking about also happens to be my sibling. Um,
Mm.
we both work at a middle school, and we have like our own separate issues outside of it, and like how I would deal with this if it were just family would be completely different, and how I would deal with this if it was just a coworker or different. But since they're intertwined, I'm really not sure how to go about it. So just to give like a little background on the situation, um, there is a kid here who he's in 8th grade now, but he's been with us since 5th grade. And before we even got him, his mom advocated for him, and he's a trans kid, and his mom advocated for him and was like, "Hey, I know you have to see this name on like your records and everything, but this is the name that he wants to go by, and he wants to be stealth." So we've kept him stealth for 3 years, um, and then lately, some two kids that he hangs out with, they found out that that the name that we call him now was not the name he was born with or assigned. And they started to call him by that name. And my sister confronted them and was like, "Hey, this isn't cool to do. I don't care if he said that he doesn't care. Like, you shouldn't be calling him by this name." And she let it slip to them that he was trans, um, which that in and of itself was already like really bad. And she was like going up to him. She said she was going up to him pretty much every day and apologizing to him, just saying, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry I did this." And as she was explaining it to me, she called him by his dead name, and I was like,
Mm.
"Hold, wait, hold on. Like, let's not do this. Like, don't call him by this name. That's not his name." And she kind of just started like cutting me off, not letting me talk, and just being like, "Hey, I know you're trans, but you're not the voice of every trans person." Um, and it just became a situation where I'm like, if it were just me, I would deal with it however, whatever. But there's a whole other kid involved, and it's with work, and yeah, I'm just not sure how to go about the situation.
Yeah, I don't know that I have a ton of advice. Someone in the comments said, and this does sound accurate, this is starting to sound like an epic "Am I the a-hole" post. Um, uh, Yeah, I mean, I guess, doing your best to, like, support the kid and advocate for them, and making sure that they don't get put in a position where things are, like, dangerous, and if people are starting to find out that they are trans, just make sure to keep an extra eye out or, like, make sure you check in frequently to make sure that they feel adequately supported, so long as there is someone in their corner helping them, then that will help even if they're even if the situation socially becomes worse, like, if there's teasing or bullying with regards to this, or if people won't let it alone or anything, just make sure, especially if the family or people close to the kid are having trouble with it, maybe just let things kind of you know simmer down a little bit first of all, because it sounds like this woman that you're talking to is like worked up. She sounds worked up. So I would say, let things kind of calm down a little bit. Just make sure that, you have like a calm, assuring presence for this person wherever possible. That's my advice anyway. Josie, do you have anything?
Yeah, one of the things that it's important to understand is that there could be a lot of dynamics like you're playing. Like, um, if you were another person outside of actually being a sibling, they may be more open to listening, and there is probably, a way that you listen to each other, versus like another professional relationship. I would recommend, actually trying to get somebody in the school that is a professional in this. So maybe a counselor or somebody who deals with gender identities, as well, and try to call them in to support you in this. It shouldn't be on you to do the corrective actions, especially because of the family dynamics, as well as, not having to be the one that has to correct everybody personally. That's a lot of labor on you. And I don't believe that trans people should have to do all of the labor, when it comes to trans issues. So you should be able to get support from the administration. Because you're in California, I see that that's probably really, really possible. And I think with the explanation of, the bullying and everything that could happen because of this, it's important, I think, to get administrative help on this. That's what I would do in these type of situations, because I just don't think that it should be on you to make the corrective action because your colleagues or coworkers, and you may need to move another. Have you thought about that? Considered that?
Um, yes, I have. And I think you're right. Like we do listen to each other very differently because, this is my sibling, and like she even admitted to me beforehand that anytime I have any type of problems with her or like criticism, that she's just pretty much unwilling to hear it. Um, so yeah, it probably would be better if somebody else were to do it. It's just I yes, that my coworkers are like very accepting of me as like a out trans person. Um, but they also are not like th- they're not very knowledgeable on anything to do with it. It's more so just like, hey, yeah, we support you. I don't know what the fuck we're talking about here, but yeah, like we support you. Um, so yeah,
Yeah,
I'm a little worried about how it would be handled, but I mean, I guess that's just
of
not
course.
not my thing to deal with, I guess.
Yeah, I still think it's a good idea to check in with a counselor or someone in administration just to make sure that that loop is closed. And just to double check, right? It's just important for the health and safety of the trans kid that you're discussing, to make sure that there is that support network there. And it sounds like there still needs to be a little bit of training for the teachers, in that situation as well. So it's unfortunate what has happened, but there's a possibility to, make this a teachable moment for everybody involved. I think is the most important thing here.
Hmm. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Thank you guys.
yeah, yeah. Thank you,
Um,
and thank you for calling in. Is there
yeah, no
anything else you
problem.
wanted to ask?
I did have another question. It's quick, but
Sure.
like if you don't have it, then
No,
we
it's
can move
fine.
on.
Go ahead. Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
cool. Okay. Yeah. So I'm as of today, actually, I've been on T for 9 months now, and I I'm 29 now, and I didn't start like really coming out until like 26, and I've been dealing with my body dysmorphia kind of just by like ignoring it. But lately, as I'm getting gendered more correctly, like now it's instead of being like 95% of the time being gendered wrong, now it's like 80% of the time I'm being gendered correctly. And it's starting to make me feel more dysphoric, weirdly enough. Like I'll be like they'll refer to me as like he, him, and for a second I'll be super excited, and then I'll be like, oh wait, but what if they see my chest and now they're gonna know or something like that, and I just don't know if that's like normal, if there's something wrong with me, like, yeah.
I mean, I think that's the anxiety of being stealth for the first time, basically, where you're like, you finally have the opportunity to socially assimilate or at least not be noticed as a trans person. And so you're not being noticed as a trans person, seemingly, and you're not being clocked as someone assigned female. So, like, there is a first of all, it's kind of weird at first when people start gendering you differently in the first place. Like, it's difficult to adjust to, even if it is the thing that you prefer. Um,
Mhm.
and then also, yeah, like, yeah, if you're suddenly like, "Oh, no, what if they find out?" You know? So maybe getting top surgery will kinda help with that anxiety since that does tend to be, like, one of the more obvious markers, even if people are doing the little, like, weird thing that they do where they kinda, like, briefly look at your crotch and think that you didn't notice,
Yeah.
you can always stuff a sock in there, there's always that option, so it's just less of an issue when you finally get top surgery, and then you're like, "Oh, okay, I don't really need to worry about this because there's nothing to, quote, 'give me away.'" So, probably,
Mhm.
once you take that final step, or that next step, I should say, uh, you'll probably feel a lot better about it. But, yeah, it's just normal stealth stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it sounds
it's been kind of. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say you're still fairly early in your transition too. So it takes a second for the mind to kind of like readjust and remap to the way that you are and how people are starting to see you in society. There is a moment, at least in a lot of the experiences that I have talked to and mine as well, is where it's almost overnight. Like all of a sudden you're misgendered, and then like some point it's like everybody gets it right. And it's just the living your truth and just being confident in who you are. And it's not necessarily just your appearance that's doing that. It's just your confidence in who you are that is doing it as well. So it can be jarring. It can be jarring, and I'll just say it's probably not just by how you look, it's just how you present yourself as a person.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's kinda like low-key hurting my little progressive heart because, I always thought that I would be, like, the type of person that's like, "Yeah, I don't give a fuck, like, if I look trans, like, hell yeah, I wanna look trans," but now it's like, "Oh god, now I think I look trans," and I'm like, "Fuck," like, I don't know, you know?
The world is scary though. Like, it's scary in a way
Yeah.
that it didn't used to be. So, yeah, like, when
Yeah.
I first came out, it was, like, 15 years ago, and no I felt no resistance or hesitance within myself to start expressing that I was trans because society just didn't really care or talk about us very much at that point, and now I'm like, so I wish that I looked trans to other people. I'm like, how can I subtly look trans to other trans people, but like mostly not be noticed by heterosexuals? And I worry
Right.
that sometimes I'm a little too far on the heterosexuals side of that coin. So it's like, yeah, that kind of back and forth between wanting to find your people and be visible to your people and let other people know that it's safe to be out as well. But yeah, like, exists in tension with like our own personal safety.
Yep.
Right. Alright.
Well,
So
good
don't
luck
feel
Well,
with
bad.
that
everything.
was bad. I appreciate you guys. Love the
Yeah.
show, and I'll be watching the rest of it. Um,
All right.
Yeah,
Well, thank
absolutely.
you.
cool. Thank
Appreciate you,
you. See
Roman.
you
All right.
later.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great. So if you haven't liked or subscribed, make sure you do that as well. It's super important to do.
Did you guys know that
Um,
Josie's running for office?
Oh
What?
yeah, I am doing that as well, and I have what I'm calling a spooky campaign goal tonight, and probably tomorrow as well. Trying to raise $1,000 before midnight. So it is definitely what I'm trying to do today, and I'll probably try to raise two more tomorrow. So yeah, I'm
Mm.
working hard, hustling. So you can find the link in the chat. And it's the Zerba link. You got to use the Zerba link. It's a high performing link in my campaign. To just and I love how it confuses my finance team. They're like, "What is a
Yeah,
Zerba?" And I'm like, "A Zerba? You don't need to know. It's fine.
don't worry about it.
Zerba brings in the money, all right? So
That's all that
that's all
matters.
that
That's all they
matters.
need to
That's
know.
right. Yeah, exactly, exactly. No, we're crushing it. We're crushing it. We're working hard. We're gonna have a really good, successful October. So make it possible though. I say we're going to have one as I am still doing call time after this tonight for several hours and several
It's
hours
work.
tomorrow. And it is work. It's
Yeah.
hard. So
When
help
is your
me. Help
is
me
it in
please.
May? It's not until the springtime, the
It's
election?
June 23rd.
June,
It's
okay.
right.
We still got
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
but
Still
every
got
donation
time.
matters. Let's
It
go.
matters so
There's
much
quarterly goals.
because I pay people. I pay staff, all right? Staff has to do the job. Like, if you believe in living wages, please donate.
So true. So true,
Like,
bestie.
yeah.
And we will be reading
Awesome.
$5 or more super chats at the end. That's the plan anyway. If we end up running a little bit late, we might have to modify the I pray I don't modify the deal any further. Um, but yeah, so $5 or more
Yes.
super chats, and also check out the donation link for Josie if you want to contribute to her campaign. You have to be a United States citizen or United States resident at the
Or
very
you
minimum.
just a resident, just a legal,
Resident of the
permanent
United States.
resident. Yeah, yeah. So that's all,
Cool.
and that's
All
how it
right.
is.
Let's look at the poll really quick from this week and kind of explain it before we take another call. Okay, so I thought that this phrase was kind of provocative, and I was curious what people's thoughts were. So, do you agree with the statement, every trans suicide is a murder by those in power? A young trans woman, aged 21, was just found on, I think, her college campus or near her college campus, and it has been declared a suicide. And so people are kind of, while they're telling the story of her passing, you know, this like idea that every trans person who takes their life under these circumstances is really like a victim of a society that is, not providing for their needs and is ostracizing and marginalizing them even further. And we know, looking at the data, that just one supportive person in a trans person's life can dramatically change their mental health outcomes. So we could potentially be doing research drawing very specific lines between what the government is doing and these people feeling powerless and hopeless about the future and taking actions in line with that. So that's, my opinion is like, this is probably an accurate statement, at least most of the time.
Yeah. And I will just say this as well because I think it's really, really important to say. Um, because I've been part of suicide prevention resources and centers, and I have studied trans people. In fact, that's what's here in this book is the U.S. Trans Survey, Health and Well-being. It's very, very important. It catalogs 92,000 trans people's experiences, but what's important to note is when we talk about self harm tends to spike. And so when we hear these stories pop into the news and the media, make sure you check in on each other. Make sure everybody is doing well, because it is proven scientifically that it is a moment that happens when one does it, many choose to do it as well. This more important than ever for us to stick together, huddle, build that resiliency because we need it more than ever. So even if you're cis, check in on your trans friends. It's really, really, really critical at this current juncture in time. And remember as well, just because I want to make sure that we're always connecting to the data here, is that when a trans person is accepted by one close person in their lives, the chance of suicidal ideation drops to no more than a cis person. So your friendships with trans people are life saving. So it's incredibly important that we do that, especially when we talk about these really hard topics, because it's a lived reality that our community has to deal with and many other marginalized communities across the country. But just check in with one another and make sure you embrace each other when you can.
Yeah. And honestly, like this is something that I just thought of while you were talking, but like with everything that's about to happen with people losing SNAP benefits, trans people are disproportionately underemployed and underhoused. So it probably might also be good for you to check like there might be potential like safety issues for a trans person standing in line at a food pantry for 3 hours to get their food. So if you know someone who's in a particularly vulnerable place, if you're already helping with local food, which if you have the means, you should be doing it. I think as of this month, I will probably finally have enough extra income that I could start doing some charitable donations. And I'm going to try to support my local food pantry or food share program. Give them money because then they can buy things at a dramatic discount. Your money will go so much further if you do not try to donate food to the food pantry. Okay. Give them money. They will buy food way more than you could get with your money that you just take it to the store. Okay. And also
Mhm.
check in on individuals that you know in your community who may be particularly vulnerable. If you know someone who's disabled, who cannot get to the standing in line for food for hours, check in on those people and maybe consider taking part of what you would be donating to the food pantry and maybe help out like someone who is not able to access those resources in the first place. So help each other. We really desperately need to be participating in those kind of programs right now, as well as just making sure people's
Absolutely.
mental health is taken care of. So you can't have good mental health if you're not fed. That's all I got to say
Yep.
about that. So with that said, I
Yes.
think we
Let's
got
move
more
on
calls on the
to,
line.
yeah, I think the first call on the list, I think, is a good one. Let's go with that. Let's go with that one.
All right. We are going to take Tyler, he, him pronouns from Texas. Tyler, you are live on the line with Luxander and Josie. How's it going?
Hi, it's going well. How are you guys?
Doing okay
We're
so
we're,
far.
we're
No,
making it. Yeah.
Nobody has raised
nice.
my blood pressure yet.
Well, I just
I
actually it was a really weird coincidence. I was just looking up. I was just on the Line's website, and then I saw like a short that you guys had just published.
Mhm.
That or
Mhm.
just went up automatically, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting call-in show. Like I might check that out. And then I called the number on it, and they're like, it's going live right now. I was like, oh, okay. Well, that's a weird coincidence.
All
So
right.
Nice.
I
yeah,
love it.
Serendipity.
So it
yeah.
looks, yeah. So it looks like you want to talk about the difference between sex and gender. So yeah, tell us about it.
Okay. Let me just start by I'm a atheist caller. I have like questions or even like some I don't know dissenting opinions on transgender, like the concept of it, but
Mhm.
not really. I don't have any opinions of like it's sin or wrong or bad. It's coming from a different place than like a lot of the people that come in and call into your show and talk a bunch of smack and stuff.
Or
So I don't really have anything like that. They're more like my questions and thoughts are more around like I just I don't really see it. Maybe it just needs to be like illuminated for me. But yeah, um, in regards to like sex and gender, do you see a difference between them? And it's okay if you have two different opinions on it. I don't mind.
yes, there is
Yeah.
definitely a difference between them.
Okay. How do you see them as linked together, like at all?
Not always.
I mean, I
Not
think that
You
they're
always.
some like
correlated and they definitely inform each other. Like you can't
They
yeah.
like
inform
I
each
don't know
other.
that gender exists without sex, like, in a completely different format than we can currently imagine it maybe, but like yeah, they're definitely like correlated a lot of the time and clearly interrelated all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that someone can? You obviously think someone can change their gender. Do you think someone can change their sex? Like not
Yeah.
I do.
like philosophically, do you think that someone can change their sex?
Go ahead, Lux.
So my position is that sex is a cluster category based on usually we would say like 5 different characteristics. So if you change a significant enough number of those characteristics, then how could you meaningfully qualify as the same sex anymore? Like if there's,
Mm,
what gonads you have, what chromosomes you have, which most people don't even know, or like
hmm
whether you have secondary sex characteristics or, all these kind of things. So like if a trans woman has a dominant estrogen system, has breasts, has the soft skin and hair of a woman, and if she has surgery to remove gonads, then like how could you meaningfully call that person male? In a medical sense,
mm,
she has needs that are identical to cis females. Like her breast cancer risk and her heart attack risk is the same as a cisgender woman. Um, and her prostate cancer risk is almost zero. So, like medically and for most purposes, you change your
hmm
sex. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think if
Yeah.
like let's just like put out like a hypo? Oh, sorry, the other person. If your
No, go
opinion as
ahead.
well.
Go
I'm
go.
not trying to cut you off.
Well, yeah, I agree with what Alexander said, with the characteristics of sex, because there's like the phenotypical thing. Like for example, they just came out with a study I think recently that trans women's blood actually with hormones actually resemble cis women's blood, for example, right?
Hmm
So there's like actual cell changes at a cellular level when you are exposed to estrogen without the exposure of testosterone. So there is like a lot of things that happen biologically when you are on the hormone profile that I identify with in a lot of ways and take. So but I will say also, because I'm very big on the characteristics that make up a person, which is sex, gender identity, gender expression, sexual orientation, and I also say relationship configuration, meaning how many people you prefer to love from 0 or more. And so all of those things can be they're all independent. So for example, I say I'm a trans woman because I was assigned male at birth, but I identify as a woman. So there is a meaning behind the word trans. A lot of trans people don't just drop the trans off of their themselves, because it's an acknowledgement of the lived experience of being assigned a sex at birth. So that's why I think that there is a very strong difference between sex and gender, because of how we use words to describe our human experiences. So that's why I use it. Now, when we go into what we were talking about, the cellular level changes and the things like that, that becomes a more academic, more advanced conversation that we are willing and always willing to have. But at the basic rudimentary way that people view sex and gender, it has to be very simple and easy to understand so people can understand that trans people exist. There is a lot of people in this country and across the world that believe that sex and gender are the same and are inextricably linked, that there is no way to there's no way to have a conversation about the existence of trans people. So that's why I always go with a very rudimentary, elementary level understanding of the difference between sex and gender when I have conversations with people, because it
mm
makes it easier to prove the existence of trans people and their lived experience of gender identity.
mm. Okay, I see. Okay, so I guess I'm going to present like a really weird hypothetical. Um, but could you not to include that old like experiment that people like to cite and stuff, because
The
that's
the
used
John Money
in pretty
one?
bad
The
faith.
one that proves You mean the John Money one that proves that gender identity is real?
No, 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 no. No, no. That's not what I'm talking. I'm not sure. Let me
I
say this.
think it is.
Not that
That's
one.
the one in
It's
bad
this.
faith. Okay.
There's this situation that's usually cited in bad faith about this person that was like forced or that was raised as the opposite gender as they were born
Yeah.
and stuff, and it's touted a lot by like some pretty I'm not anti-trans in this, like I think it's wrong. It doesn't comport with like how I see reality. But that there's
Well,
nothing like I'm
just
certain. Yeah.
Ju-
So
just to
my
be
yeah. Oh,
clear,
sorry. Go on.
that is the study that is the example that I'm bringing up is the John Money
Oh, that is it.
example
Okay, good. Yeah,
where
okay, good. Yeah,
yeah, so
yeah,
where a child was born, it was twins. They were born. One of the twins during birth had damage done to their genitals so
yeah.
badly
And they
that the
raised them as a
doctor
female.
actually
Yeah.
exactly right, and then but
Hmm.
that didn't change the fact that the boy identified as a boy the whole time,
Yeah,
right? Like, that's how it
yeah.
worked, and so that person lived through immense amount of gender dysphoria, to the
Hmm.
point where they took their own life, and what that
Yeah, exactly.
proved, and this is why it's always in bad faith when they say this actually proves that you can't force somebody to be a gender identity that they're not.
Yeah, a
And
gender
so that's
identity that they're not.
right.
Yes.
Exactly. So it proves that it's not linked to sex characteristics. So that's why it's always used in bad faith because they try to say the opposite, which is weird.
Yeah, yeah. It is weird.
And it's
It
also a
in some
horrific,
ways like
unethical
it
thing.
is weird, but I
Yeah.
think the that's why I try not to use that exact example while using this like hypothetical. So if someone was forced, if this example has never existed, but if a person woke up from a surgery that they didn't consent to, and they had experienced the standard transitional surgeries that are used to what was those five like cluster categories. If those things had changed in them, I understand their gender identity would not have changed. You know that the John Money study literally shows that, but the uh, but would their sex have changed? Would they now have a sex that has changed, but a gender that has not?
No. No, because they were still assigned the sex at birth, whatever that was.
I think that the idea is like, okay, there's actually a movie with this plot with Michelle Rodriguez in it, uh, where it's like a punishment on her that they like she gets a sex change or for a spy reason or something. I don't remember the plot. I haven't actually seen it. It's on my list of ones that I want to review. But like, yeah,
Interesting.
if a person whether like forcibly or electively, if you cut off or remove or reconfigure someone's genitals, I don't
Hmm.
understand how you can meaningfully say that they still are the sex that they were. Like, because it's like one of the dominant factors. But also, sex is an identity factor, which is something that often gets missed in this conversation. Like, intersex people identify as one sex or the other, not necessarily
Yeah.
in a gender sense. So, like,
Do you think they
whether you describe
mistakenly?
yourself as male or female. Sorry, go ahead,
Mhm.
Tyler.
Oh, I was just. Do you think that they're correct in the way they identify? Can someone like? Obviously, people can incorrectly identify with things. That's the entire plight of transgenders, transgender people's situation is that they start the world in one way. They, have to like identify with what they're told, and then they realize it doesn't comport with how they feel, and then they find a new avenue to identify with, and and then they transition. That's the change. Do you think someone like an intersex person there in that situation, when they're identifying with one or the other, are they mistakenly identifying with one or the other, and they actually exist in this intersex gray area? And are they kind of incorrect in a way, and they're just doing something to make their life easier, or
Well,
when
there's
it
the
comes
two
to their
different
sex, not their
components to it.
gender? Because
Like, I would view their like sex is kind of two different things that are highly related. And one is identifying within a construct, and the other is strictly medically what are your needs or the biological description. So like, yeah, when you go to the
yeah,
doctor, you might need to be like, hey, I was born with a vagina and internal testicles, but I also have androgen insensitivity, so the testicles don't do anything for me. Like that might be medically relevant at some time. And so
hmm
on a medical biological level, like, yes, there is a gray area. That person is physically intersex. But if that person grew up a woman and they feel like they're female, then I don't think that it's wrong for them to identify within that construct, even if it might not be like 100% accurate, because I think that there is a social component to how we delineate sex as well as gender.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
actually how I feel about except I guess I have the opposite take, is that you believe the correlation is like, okay, um, if gender is how you identify and how like it's like a social construct and it's about like your identity and how society identifies you as well. That's how identify all identity is like constructed or formed. The with sex, I think people are just as attached to it. I've had this where this kind of started with is I had or have a yeah had it was at a previous job, a trans friend and coworker who had transitioned, and they still had their old driver's license, tells everyone has
Mhm.
that deal, but then they got it changed. And we'd had the discussion already about like how they feel about gender and sex, and they, gender is a social construct. This is in like 2019, and I asked when they got it changed. I looked at it and I was like, oh, it says it now says the opposite sex, and they had like
Mhm.
expressed the opinion that the opposite sex, is you can't change your sex, but you can change your gender. I was like, but you changed it here, and now it says your
Yeah,
new
and this
your
is
your
and
your
this
your
is
the sex that you said. And they were like, oh. And I was like, yeah, so this is actually a really important thing that you want changed, even though you've already expressed the belief that these are two different things. And that's where this like comes from, is that I feel like
so s
sex and gender
so
are
yeah,
used interchangeably still, like to the point where
yeah.
it's almost meaningless to distinguish between them.
So Tyler, now what you're bringing up is a very like, again, we're talking about like the academic way of looking at things, and I think Lux definitely is in the more of the academic space of like the idea of
Yeah.
gender and is taking it to a more advanced point of view. And I'm going to bring
Mhm.
it back down again to the whole sex conversation of the sex and gender thing. So
Mhm.
on driver's license, it's important for us to be able to identify who we are so it doesn't cause discrimination. So yeah,
Mhm.
I'm gonna use this the research that I've done with trans people across the country.
Mhm.
I'm very proud of the research that we've done with over 92,000 trans respondents across the country, and what we know from driver's license and why the driver's license designation is so important, regardless if it says sex and gender, is because it limits the ability for people to discriminate against us. So if
Okay.
I was saying, so for example, I am very feminine, and a lot of people would say that I pass, right? And so what that means is I can walk through life and not say I'm trans, and most people will be like, "Yeah, whatever. She's just a woman." They wouldn't add a trans
Yeah.
or a cis to it. They would just, yeah, right. But if I had the sex marker on my driver's license with an M, if I'm trying to rent a property or if I'm trying to, show my ID to go and buy booze or something or cannabis or whatever, the person at the register now knows that I'm trans, and that person can be incredibly discriminative to me because it clocks me. So that is why the driver's license thing is so critical. And yes, it says
Mhm.
sex on it. It could say gender, but it really is on that point of view in that situation is more used as a gender marker than it is a sex marker. In fact, when you go to, legal understandings of licenses and driver's license and IDs, they actually call it a gender marker. Like when you go to the DMV, it's like, what is your preferred gender marker, right? Or
Mhm.
if you're trying to change your social security, it's like your gender marker. Even on a passport, it's gender marker is what they ask you, but it says
Yeah.
sex on the actual ID. And I am very big on the fact that language evolves, but language evolves slowly and not all at once. So
Especially
Yeah.
so
bureaucratic language on identity documents.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So words are meant to essentially move and change over time, and the meanings of words change over time. And we may be at a point where the archaic driver's license should say gender on it, but it's hard enough just to change, a letter on
I
the
know
driver's
all this stuff
license.
just got reversed anyway. I know there's a whole like
Yeah,
political aspect and a pragmatic aspect that you're speaking to. That makes sense to me. That
yeah,
you're saying that like
exactly.
I think there's you're saying that there's a whole pragmatic aspect to where the layman who reads your driver's license, the policeman or the anyone who has to ID you that's in some sort of position of authority has an opportunity to they see a gender marker that they didn't expect, and then can
Mhm.
if they have any power over you in any situation, or even just no power, but like an opportunity to inconvenience you or complicate your life, it can just because they're uncomfortable with it or their own, there's a whole pragmatic aspect that isn't really
In
even. So you would
fact,
say, or would you say um, would you say that you would disagree with the the marker itself change, but you would agree with at a, like a philosophical level because of how you see sex, but you would agree with it, or you would say still use it because it's pragmatic and it keeps you safe?
I mean, a lot of
well,
us think that we shouldn't have this designation on IDs in the first place,
right,
but if there is
yeah,
such a designation, then we
Mm,
treat it like an identity document that needs to
mm,
identify you currently. And so, yes, if you look like a man, like you're a trans man and you look like a man because you've been on testosterone for 3 years, it is way better for you in every situation and for everyone you interact with. Like your ID is an identity document for quick exchanges typically,
yeah,
and not like,
yeah,
rigorous medical information. So, like,
of
so long
course,
as
of
it's on
course.
there, trans people should be able to change it to match their identity and
Hmm.
appearance, whatever they,
Yeah,
whatever they feel safest with, basically. But also get rid
I
of the
wasn't.
designation because why do we have it?
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I see what you mean. So the designation, it's not that you're. Are you like are I don't know what do you got your takes on this? Are you like gender abolition, or is that like a further down the road thing, or like, or are you more like? I'm not sure. Just to get an idea on how you feel about that.
I would
Like,
describe myself as a gender anarchist more than a gender abolitionist, but
gender
yeah,
anarchist. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. And I am, I guess when I look at the current zeitgeist of the fact that I live in a society where a gender construct exists, so therefore I am inside that construct. I do not
Hmm.
get to choose the construct, so therefore I live in the construct. That's just how it kind of is. I would like to see a world where gender doesn't matter as much as it does right now, because I think that's what leads to the patriarchal system, sexism, all of the those type of isms that take power away from people just because of the way that they were born or the way that they present is a huge systematic problem in our world. So if we were able to delete sexism and patriarchy because we were able to remove the understanding of gender as a whole, then I'm all for it. But are we gonna get there in this generation? Probably not. So for me, what my goal is as somebody who is, someone who's very political, is to make sure that everybody is granted equality under the law, regardless of how they identify with whatever gender that they identify. So my answer, I think, is a little bit more complex, because I have to explain it to the masses in a very different way.
Hmm. Yeah, most of your answers seem to be about that, about how it relates to the common person. How does this concept of gender and transgender like relate to common people and how they understand things, like even down to the license ID, the
Yeah.
state ID thing. It's important to you that a regular person has a very, I don't know, non-complicated engagement with gender and transgender, the subject of I don't know, ism. I don't know what it's. I feel like every time
No,
I
it's
hear
just trans
transgenderism,
people.
it's out the mouth of
It's
an asshole.
I always say
it's ju yeah, it's
transness. If I need to like nounify it, my transness, blah blah blah.
yeah, yeah. So I
Oh, transness.
usually try
Okay.
to I always try to attach it to people. Like,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
for me, it's like it's trans people, right? Queer people,
Mhm.
LGBTQIA plus community, right? When you
Yeah.
identify it with people, it makes it more real to the human aspect of what it is to be trans. So
Yeah.
when people say transgender ideology and things like that, they are separating the trans from the person, but you can't have
Mhm.
trans without people. Right. So that's kind of the reason why I always try to attach it to community or people in general, because it makes it more human, because it is human. Being trans is a uniquely human experience, so we should never separate the two.
Okay.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
it does seem like a very uniquely human experience. Okay. By the way, if this call is getting long in the tooth at all or anything, feel free to let
No,
me
it's
know and
fine.
I'll move along.
No,
Okay.
it's fine. But
Okay.
what I wanna ask you though, Tyler, is
Sure.
the going back to the original root of the question, because it's about the difference between sex and gender,
Mhm.
and the value of the separating the sex and gender is very, very important because of the fact that most people don't understand the difference. We can get
Mm.
into the nuanced conversation of people's individual phenotypes of how they present based on their hormone profiles that they are taking medically. But at the end of the day, that is a more advanced conversation. We are still
Yeah.
at the point in society trying to tell people the difference between sex and gender so people that can be trans exist, because my
Mm.
gender has nothing to do with my sex other than the fact that I am a trans woman. That's it. The trans for
Mhm.
me is my sex assigned at birth. That's why I say it, because it's important for me to distinguish the difference between sex and gender. Right, like,
Okay.
and I use this phrasing a lot, and it's an out and my personal argumentation is some coconut trees have coconuts and some coconut trees don't, right? That doesn't stop them from being coconut trees. Some
Mhm.
women have penises and some women don't, right, still works because the penis is is the sex in this a very simple analogy, right, versus the
Okay.
woman is the gender. And I do
Okay.
this so people can treat people regardless if they've had surgery, regardless if they've had hormones, regardless of where they are in their transition, they will still be considered women, so they can get equal access to spaces, and equal access to the law, no matter how they present or whatever medications they're taking or whatever surgeries that they have, because trans people are in different spaces of their transition or may not want to have affirming surgery or any of that, which is completely okay and fine. That's why
Mhm.
the separation between sex and gender matters so much to me, because I get really nervous when we start saying, "Oh, somebody's had a sex change, so now they can have permission to be the gender that they choose," because that is a very slippery slope to an argument of trans medicalism. So that's why it's a
Is
hard line
transmicalism bad for
separation.
you?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Is
Absolutely. Some people
the
health
is
wise
the
can't.
fact that you are trans the
Oh, you're cutting out.
lens
Say it
for
again.
your
You
is
sound like a robot. Say it.
robotic?
Yeah, the
Yeah, you're
connection is
robotic.
being a little weird.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay,
Hold
you're
on.
good now. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Oh, I'm good now. Okay, well, that's nice.
Yeah.
My office is a good place then. Okay, so
Oh,
so you think transmedicalism is bad? Do you think that? Oh, is it again? Is it happening again?
no,
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 you're
you're
good.
good. You're good. Just stand
Okay,
still.
okay. I just happened to look at my monitor and I see you guys laughing,
Yeah.
so I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
is it the? I think
Also,
there's just a
Arden put
decent
up a
delay.
funny poll, so that's
Hmm?
unrelated. Our
Yeah, it's
producer put up a
Oh,
unrelated.
funny
okay,
poll
okay,
in the
okay.
chat.
Mm.
Okay.
Um.
But go on about transmedicalism. Yes, I believe it's bad.
Oh, yeah. I believe it's bad. If I guess I'll state like kind of a more affirmative, somewhat affirmative position that I feel. I mean, and then you can pick it apart or ask whatever questions or anything that you want. I'm totally open to it. I do. I feel the way I feel about trans stuff is, um, and or transgender people and transness is I feel is kind of just how I feel about gender. I feel that the whole like social construct and gender is about a gender performance in society. Well, I'm not interested in like upholding like traditional performances or like I don't know the current bleeding edge like gender norms that are being expressed. You know, even breaking them down. I feel like they're irrelevant from people most of the time. Not irrelevant from them, but irrelevant from like their biology and stuff like that. I feel that if we do away with those categories and liberate people, I think it's totally chill for a guy to do the for a man to do socially feminine things and girly things. I don't think it makes him not a man. And if I follow that like line of logic all the way down, it kind of means that the the category of gender to me kind of disappears. But I can't really do the same for sex. If anything, I
So
create like a few subcategories of sex by doing that, but I don't like,
so
people in like
so here
intersex
here
positions and stuff.
Yeah, so Tyler, so first I'm going to define what transmedicalism is. Transmedicalism means that you can only be trans if you have done some form of medical
Yeah,
transition. So
medical
that's
surgery
so and then
or
yeah, right,
hormones and
whatever it
stuff.
is, hormones or whatever.
Hmm.
But so the second piece about this is gender is more complex than just the identity. Gender also has a gender expression. So a gender expression is also not linked to the person's gender identity. Like you said, a femboy or a tomboy or whatever you want to be able to say is still
Hmm.
connected to the person's self identity of what they are. Like I could be
Hmm.
completely masculine but still identify as a woman. That doesn't change the fact that I identify as a woman, right? So we have to separate gender expression and gender identity, because that's another separation that's very, very important, because how you express does not actually determine how your what your gender identity is. Sometimes it does,
Do you
but
think that
sometimes it doesn't.
I see what you mean? If if someone expresses or someone, okay, hold on. If someone is, do you think someone can claim to be a gender that they're not? Do you think that someone can do that? That they can say I am a woman and they can be
Sure.
incorrect about that statement if it's about their
I
I
don't
mean,
think
identity?
they can be incorrect about it, but they can lie. Like, people
you
do
can
lie about
lie.
it,
Yeah, people can be
but I don't
Yeah,
think you can be
Tyler.
disingenuous.
incorrect. Yeah.
So,
I could tell you I'm a fan of baseball. How can you verify that I'm a fan of baseball or not?
And, like,
yeah,
maybe
you'd
during
have
a time
to.
where someone is exploring their identity, they might and, like, I initially thought that I was a trans man, and then I was like, "This also feels bad." And then I was like, "Ah,
Mm,
non-binary is an option." So, like, I guess I was wrong for that period of time when I was exploring things because I settled in an identity that didn't end up fitting for me, but
mm-hmm.
I would say that for the most part, like, if somebody states their identity, they probably know what it is because there's a lot of, like, confidence you have to build before you can even say it. So I feel like they've already gone through quite a process by the time they're ready to tell me.
Mm, okay. Um, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. So when someone states their identity, they can be incorrect about it, like to themselves, but internally, they're as long as they're being earnest, like you said, not being disingenuous. Can
Right.
you like as in like a lie, an actual like lie? Their internal monologue is that they are one gender, and that is someone who's being deceptive, right? That we understand that
Right.
people can lie. I was just
Yeah.
more of
They
meaning
can
like
lie.
the I don't want to say the diagnosis because it sounds like I'm being transmet about it, but I just mean like the self ID, like the I don't mean it in a medical sense. I mean like in a diagnosis in like in a I don't know the way they categorize themselves. They can be
Yeah.
um, quote unquote like they're usually like correct about it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Does do you think that if someone Oh wait, okay. So you're not into transmedicalism. So which I totally get.
No.
A lot of trans people feel a certain way. You're trans way before you medically transition, right? And your like
Yes.
philosophy, you're like okay. Um,
Yep.
I feel that most people heavily rely, or not. I feel this is what I observe in my like friend groups and stuff. A lot of trans friends, like but they there's like kind of a thing where they really rely on the medical side of how people like how doctors and stuff feel about it. So they'll like cite studies and stuff like that. Do you think that if um, what would happen if the medical the general like consensus on transness and trans people changed and said like, oh well, this isn't really a thing. We actually have a new diagnosis for it. You're not actually changing, you know, genders or whatever. What would that change anything for you as far as your identity?
No, because
No.
I don't need a medical provider to prove to me what I already know, and it's
Mm.
already happened, Tyler. Like there was the
Oh, I'm sure.
transsexualism, that's what they used to call it. They used to call it all kinds of different things. They used to do the same
Yeah.
thing for sexual orientation as well. Like I would not be surprised in, a decade they would change the designation again from gender dysphoria to something different. Who knows what that is? But the reality is a lot of times medical providers have to put that designation in currently in this current climate, that you have to have a medical diagnosis before you get the surgical care or medical care that you need to have this diagnosis. I do see a world in the future where you don't need that diagnosis anymore and you can just go get the things that you need, because going through a gender related surgical care is a very big thing to do, and a lot of people kind of know what they're in for, right? Like I knew that when I went through bottom surgery I was going to not be able to produce the gametes that I need to produce children anymore. Like it was pretty damn
Mm.
clear, right? And I didn't need to have a
Oh.
psychologist to tell me that was what was going to happen, right? And the fact that I was willing to even do that procedure is a sign of my own need for that procedure. Like Tyler, like would you just randomly go to a surgeon and be like, "Hey, I need
N-
to do this thing," right? No, you
no, I
wouldn't.
wouldn't. But I would say, man, this is going to be kind of weird to say. I do know one person in the world that like met the criteria. And I don't. I'm not going to say who they are. They already have
Sure,
enough crap on them in the world. But they're a person who
sure,
really needed to be guided through the that system a
sure.
lot better because they were not socially apt enough to like. They're very um, on the spectrum as heck, and they
No,
yeah, their life has gotten way more complicated now. They're not like a
mm,
detransitioner or whatever, nothing like that, but they are like unhappy with where they are because of their how uninformed they were and how they just they got really
it,
in their youth or anything, but as an adult and yeah,
yeah.
but yes,
Well,
generally you're
it's
right. Like most
complicated.
rational human beings with frontal lobes can not do that. We'll
Yeah.
never do that. We'll
r-
never just do
Right,
that.
right.
Like, people have the
Yeah.
right to make mistakes too. Like, I think that that's important. Like, people have the right to take risks and make mistakes in what they wanted. And also, like, medical malpractice exists. Like, there's one
Yeah.
bottom surgeon that
Hmm.
I would never recommend people go to because of the number
Right.
of medical malpractice suits. Like, maybe some people have really good results and some and good experiences, but I would not want to go there myself, and I wouldn't recommend people go there,
Hmm.
right? So shit like that can just happen sometimes. But yeah,
Yeah.
even
Hmm.
autistic adults have the deserve the bodily autonomy of choice. And like sometimes that means that you choose wrong and then your life gets more
Yeah.
complicated. But that also happens with knee surgery.
Yeah, and people get tattoos, people get fangs, people get
Pe-
like all types of,
Children.
yeah, people have kids, so yeah, there's a lot of things that we can do as adults that we decide to do that have permanent lasting impacts. And so when it comes down to it right now, I would say that trans related healthcare is incredibly regulated, incredibly
Oh yeah,
sparse,
yeah.
as in and so for me it's like the conversation is very clear that it's medically prescribed healthcare that is life-saving because
Hmm.
it increases the quality of life of trans people who get it. It's just that is a scientific fact. And so that's why I feel that right now we have the gender dysphoria diagnosis because it gives a little bit of shielding for a medical provider to provide the healthcare that is medically necessary because of that diagnosis. I don't know what's going to happen 10, 15, 20 years from
Oh,
now.
of
Like,
course, yeah, you
maybe
don't
they
know, but
change it, right? So
yeah.
yeah,
Can I ask
but
a question
anyways,
about that
Tyler.
part
Mhm.
specifically that where you just
Yes,
said
very quick because we do
about
need to move on.
yeah, I'll move on real yeah, I'll get out of here real quick.
Yeah.
If it came to your what you just said where um it's life-saving life-changing and life-saving surgeries, these procedures, if it became medically if basically the inverse were true, if it wasn't if it became the medical consensus became that it's not life saving surgery, that it is you know I don't know, I don't want to say it's
I
detrimental,
mean,
but let's say it's not life saving surgery anymore.
I would
well,
engage
And
the
it
Tyler.
full power of my skepticism. I would engage the full power of my skepticism to say, who fucking commissioned this study? How big was the group?
Yeah.
I,
Who funded it?
yeah, that's why I say
Like, because
consensus,
that's what we're dealing
not
with right
a
now.
study. I'm saying like
Like, I
medical
want to be clear,
consensus. I
Tyler,
agree.
that's what we're
I
dealing
agree.
with
A
right now, though.
study.
Like the CAS review. Have you heard of the CAS report from the UK?
No, I haven't. I
So the
haven't.
CAS review, people bring it up every goddamn time I have a spicy call in here. They're like, "Oh, what about the
Okay.
CAS review? It said that you shouldn't do this." And I'm like, "Oh, do you mean the widely discredited CAS review that so
Yeah.
many other countries have researched, and even the fucking
Hmm.
British Medical Association
I'm presenting
opposes it?"
a
Um,
hypothetical. Of course, there's assholes and disingenuous
Tyler,
surveys and
Tyler,
all
but
kinds
I'm
of
I
saying
stuff
that,
think
like
like,
I
that.
think the
Yeah.
we
hypothetical Tyler, hold on. Hold on.
Yeah.
I just want to say this,
please
Tyler.
cut in, yeah.
The hypothetical is strange because of what if I said the same hypothetical for heart surgery or
Yeah.
any type of cancer treatment or anything like that? Of course, I'm going to follow medical guidelines of
Okay. All right.
general medical consensus. Like that's the reality. Like if
Yeah.
people like it's the same thing of like, oh, did you like it's just a funny question because if we don't live in that world and we already have proven that it works, just like we
Well,
know heart
that's why it's
transplants
a
work. Like,
hypothetical, because it's not in this world. And to be uh, clear, I'm asking like it from to get at the root of what I'm asking. I'm asking an epistemic like question of like just a basic epistemology, the thing that grants you confidence in the thing. So in your identity and stuff, which is like this is a medically necessary, it's life saving, those things. If the inverse were true about those things, would it
then
decrease
I
your
wouldn't
confidence?
be happy. Then I wouldn't be happy, right? Because trans people currently, even in if line, and I'm assuming in your
I'm just talking about
hypothetical, like
statistically.
Lux and I still exist, right? But the
Hmm.
reality is this, right? It's hard for me to live in that hypothetical because I know tens of thousands of trans people that I've already
Yeah.
surveyed and researched, and all of this shows me that all of the reality of the lived experiences of trans people show that it works and say that they are now having a better quality of life. In your hypothetical, I would not be happy. I would not exist because I
Yeah,
wouldn't have a body of evidence that proves that this was a right choice for me, right? Like the fact of the matter is, I used to be a reactor operator in the Navy. I used to do nuclear engineering. That's what I used to do. So science
that's
matters
rad.
quite a bit to me. So yeah, scientific consensus matters a lot to me. The way medical communities come together and do this stuff meant a lot to me. I would have probably if I didn't have the scientific backing of the research and understanding of transness before I decided to do this medical transition, I probably would have still been trans, but maybe not took the medical route because of whatever the studies were trying to say at this time. But the reality is, I had an informed decision about what
Yeah,
I wanted to do with my healthcare because I had doctor prescribed healthcare. This wasn't just I
yeah,
just went into the doctor one day and had this. I consulted with my doctors about what my
yeah. I would
hormone
never
regimens
think
were
that.
gonna be,
To be clear,
right? And
I would
and
never. I would
yeah,
never think
so
that.
so that's
Yeah.
why that's why the hypothetical's funny to me, because it doesn't comport with the
Because
lived reality of how I live my
yeah,
life
it
every
isn't. It
day.
isn't. It's an inverse of the reality that we have. Of course, it doesn't comport. I was asking an inverse, like it's something that you use in epistemology, right? To see if your logic is like,
Sure,
whatever. And
sure.
yeah, to see if everything's square. But that's all. That's
Yeah.
all I was asking. I was asking a basically a measure of your confidence and how it, something that gives you confidence would decrease your confidence if the inverse was true. That's all I was asking. I'm not
I
saying
mean, yeah,
there's a
of
secret
course.
body of evidence that I'm about to link you
That would be
that'll
no,
change
no.
your entire mind. I was more of asking from
And
a like,
it's the same thing with heart
philosophically.
surgeries, right? If I knew
Yeah, exactly.
philosophically
The
that
same
heart
way.
surgeries kill more people, like, then I would be like, "No, that's probably not
Yeah.
a good thing we can do because there's no
Yeah,
study
every
that
time a
says that
fad diet
transplants
comes out, we
work."
go, it does this one thing, and then we go, oh, the results of it
Yeah.
were not that. And then you go, okay, well, you don't do that stupid diet just because it's a diet. It's
Yeah,
bad. It does the opposite of what you
exactly,
want.
exactly.
Yeah, of course. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'm gonna get out of your
Okay.
hair. I really
Alright,
appreciate
Tyler.
the
Thank
dialogue
you.
and stuff. You guys are awesome. I hope
Alright.
you or gals, you have I'm sorry, I didn't ask
Yeah.
for chat. What's
I'm
the
non-binary, but it's okay.
non-binary?
Yeah, I'm
Man,
Yeah.
sure.
what's the
You got to call
what's
back later
the
about that one.
yeah, what's the word for that? What's the guys, gals? I need a word for that. I guess
Guys,
guys is
gals, and
pretty general,
non-binary
gender
pals.
neutral at this point.
Yeah,
Pals,
you can
yeah,
do
you
that
pals.
or friends.
Ha-
I say friends, I say
friendos.
folks. Yeah,
Okay.
that's how you can do any of those type of things. I say friends a lot or folks. That's what
Okay,
I use
friends. Well,
personally.
I
Yeah,
appreciate it,
yeah,
friends. I really do. Thank you so much.
yeah.
I hope you have a great
All
day.
right. Thank you.
Thanks, Tyler.
All
Bye-bye.
Yep.
right. Bye.
I forgot to do the schedule announcements, but we don't have any schedule announcements yet because next week is
No,
November. We don't have it yet.
that's right.
So,
Yeah, we'll probably get that
You
mystery.
weren't
out
wrong.
tomorrow,
Okay,
hopefully.
we'll get it out
Fingers
tomorrow.
crossed.
But we do have Cus I Wanna tomorrow evening, and I bet that we have 2 shows on Sunday. And Matt Dillahunty is probably going to be on one of them, but I don't actually know. So look forward to next week's programming. Make sure you have your notifications turned on for all those good things we're doing, and hit the like button. It's quick, it's easy, it's free. If you haven't done it already, then you're fired. With all that said,
Yeah.
also donate to Josie's campaign and send us $5 super chats and we'll read them.
Yes.
Is anything jumping out to you on the call list right now? They've all been kind of waiting for similar amounts of time.
Yeah. Let's start. I think. Let's do the second one on the list.
Okay, we are bringing in Joel, he, him pronouns from New Jersey. You are live on the line with
Hello there.
Josie and Luxander. How's it going?
All right, how you guys doing?
Living the dream.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, I guess it's interesting listening to the previous caller because I think he touched on a lot of the sort of subjects I was asking about. Though I guess based on all that, I what I was really looking for is sort of for myself, and maybe even to explain to other people. But I mean, I completely support the whole transness thing. But I was trying to kind of articulate what exactly you associate or where you think gender identity comes from, if it's separate from gender norms and gender expression, and like as and when someone's growing up, even as a child, to feel like, oh, anatomically or however you want to phrase it, I'm male, but I don't feel. I feel woman instead of male, or cross gender terms. But I'm just trying to understand, like, what exactly contributes to that.
Sure. Lexi, you want to start or you want me to start?
I mean, we
Okay.
don't know is kind of the answer. Like, we don't know
Yeah.
what causes
Okay.
it, and like we can see that there are some things about our bodies that seem to indicate that like there might be some kind of biological reason. But brains are super complicated, and it's like kind of pointless trying to find one particular biological feature. Is like what makes somebody gay? We don't know. There's no gay gene. There's no part of the
Yeah.
brain that you could lobotomize out that would make somebody not gay anymore. Um, it's just like a complex you're like experiencing a lot of different feedback in the world and you're realizing that you like and dislike those feedbacks. And so you're like, okay, well, I like it when I'm hanging out with the gals and we're all doing our makeup, and it feels real bad when my dad takes me hunting. And like it's just a whole bunch of stuff like that that you are learning. You exist in this kind of broader context where people have created these categories, and you're like, okay, well, how do I recognize myself in any of those categories is kind of what it comes down to. And there's no one thing you can point to as in that journey.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
Joel,
yeah,
I have a
just
question
to
for you.
rephrase,
Joel, I want to have
go
a
ahead. Sure.
hold on. I want to ask you a direct question. What is
Mhm.
you are you a man?
Yes.
Why?
Um, that's a good, I guess that's kind of what I'm asking. I fall into the
Exactly.
98% of typical
Right.
humans that it's the same question when people say like, choose to be gay, and the standard reverse question is,
Exactly.
when did you choose to be straight? I
Yeah.
guess I'm
Yep.
not,
Yeah.
maybe
Exactly.
cause was the wrong word to use. I'm not necessarily looking for like some kind of physical attribute to attribute it to. I was more looking for like just a sort of description of what is part of that feeling, of
Sure.
being,
So,
the separation from, I just, like you said, you know, you can have, quote, females that want to do more male things,
yeah.
or vice versa, or, and they don't necessarily feel, oh, I'm a woman. It's just, oh, I'm a guy. I like to do, I like to play with dolls, or
Yeah.
I like to put on makeup, or, so that's it. I don't know if it's just a matter of degree in a way, but that's what I was kind of just trying to, for a long
So
time, I've been
so
trying to sort
Joel,
of understand better.
yeah, and I totally understand. And and what you're brushing up against is the complexity of human experience and human language, right? Language is very limited on how we speak to each other. That's why we get more descriptive. And I use this this example quite a bit on the show. It's like when you're talking about a computer, right? You could say, "Oh, the computer goes on the internet. It holds my files, and I type and things like that on my computer." But if you wanted to talk more detailed about the computer, now you have to have a completely different vocabulary to speak more about the computer. The transistors, the resistors, the electricity, the cards, the circuit boards, the motherboard, all of these different words become part of the conversation. And if somebody knows
Yeah.
nothing about computers, it can be very complex and very confusing very fast, right? So because then you have to define each component to get into the details of how the computer actually works at its root component level. So
Yeah.
humans are also very complex. So when we look at like human identity and human experience, we usually break it down into 4 or 5 categories. And I like to say 5, which is sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, and relationship configurations, because some people can have 0 relationships and be happy, or have multiple at once and be happy, right? And anything in
Right.
between.
Hmm.
So those concepts all have to be explained to help you understand your gender identity. So here, I'll do an example of what that looks like. I was a sex assigned male at birth. I identify as a woman, so that's my gender identity. My gender expression is femininity. I'm very feminine in the way that I express myself. My sexual orientation is bisexual, meaning that I am attracted to anybody of any gender presentation. And my
Right.
relationship configuration is polyamorous, meaning that I can have multiple relationships at once and love multiple people at one time. So those 5 things really make up a very good description of who I am in my human person, right? And that's how I am able to describe myself. And you can't really argue and tell me otherwise, right? You can't tell me any of those
Right.
things and say those things aren't true, because they're mine, right? They're my description of who I am, just like you have one, right? You already told me that you're a man, so your gender identity is man. I don't know if you're wearing a dress right now. I don't know what you're wearing, so your gender expression is a mystery. I would have to ask you, right? Because I can't see you in person. And then your sexual orientation, I don't know if you're gay or straight, like, and so all of these different things are all related to who you are, and you don't have to justify them to anyone, because you don't have to tell me
Yeah.
why you're a man, because it doesn't make sense. You just are a man, right? So that is why it gets complex to explain where these things are, because they all exist inside of us. They all exist in ways that you can't see outside of maybe, an expression or a relationship that you have that you're public about. Like very, very, but most of those are internal things that you have inside of yourself.
Yeah. No, I get that. I hope I'm kind of articulating my question clearly here, but I guess what I'm not wrestling with it, like it definitely, it's not like I don't approve of any of that kind of thing. I'm just trying to kind of understand that, like you said, even separating, identity from expression. For instance, like you were saying before, if you're like a gender anarchist, like if there was no societal gender roles or expectations or anything of that, would you still feel you're the wrong? I shouldn't say wrong. You're a different gender than perhaps what was assigned at birth, or that's why I was just trying to kind of get down to like what is contributing to that feeling if you eliminate other gender confirmation social things.
I mean, we do seem to see like a what in other parts of medicine is called like a brain body map mismatch. So like people are born with a brain that is meant to be a human brain, right? And so we have a human map of the body in our brain where we're like, okay, I am going to
Yep.
have two hands, I'm going to have two legs and that kind of stuff, and I have the spatial awareness with those limbs. uh, People who are born without limbs or people who lose limbs can have phantom limb, which is basically like your body expects it to be there and maybe
Right.
even feels pain associated with that limb. And so you're probably
Yep,
familiar with
I've heard
that
of
more
phantom pain.
broadly.
Sure.
And we see this kind of same thing happen with trans people where like there is sometimes phantom sensation. And there's like an amount of distress internally with not having certain body parts or having certain body parts. And like even without a gendered expectation, like a gendered understandings of society, people will still feel that way because it's basically like a huge complicated biological process of growing a brain and growing a body, and there's going to be little
Yeah.
things like that are like just not quite aligned every single time. Your brain body map, like there's, some people think that if you get certain hormones during the brain development part of your pregnancy, that like maybe because my mother had PCOS, maybe I got testosterone more than usual when my brain was developing, and that gave me like a gender identity in my brain that was different from how my body phenotypically developed. Like that's the best theory we have for maybe
Hmm.
why this could be happening. Like why would the brain develop differently? But we don't know, so we have to basically just default to like people feel however they feel and they deserve to have bodily autonomy, Nobody's really digging
Oh,
deep into
absolutely.
the psychology of like why do people tattoo their eyeballs or get full blackout tattoos all over their skin? Like nobody's really interested in the psychology of why people do body modification in other ways. So it's interesting that there's like additional scrutiny on trans people's body modification and it's treated as though it's different and not just like people want things for themselves and so they're going to go out and get them.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and
I
and
mean,
just because there's no social construction in this hypothetical world that you've constructed doesn't mean that I was still an uncomfortable person. I was still uncomfortable with having facial hair. I was still uncomfortable with not being, with hormones would still exist, right? So I would still be able to see there are people with different hormones. So therefore the hormones that I would want on my body are very different than the other people, regardless of the gender construction that exists. So I I do have, a dysphoria about not having the hormones that were assigned, or having the hormones that I was assigned at birth versus the medical hormones that I have now. I prefer those. They help me. They make me calm. They're just, it's, I can't explain to you why, but I know
Hmm.
that I need them.
Yeah.
Like I just know I need them. And that's how
Oh
it
yeah.
is, right? I needed to get my
Yeah.
facial hair zapped off with a lot of pain over the course of several years. I don't know why I had to put myself through that pain, but I did it because it makes me feel good when I look in the mirror. There's just no way for
Yeah.
me to be able to answer the question any other way, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I guess part of what complicates the question for me even a little bit more is from watching the show. I've heard that not every trans person sort of has sufficient body uh, dysphoria to even want to change the body, or need to change the body. So it seems to me it's not just even that, and that's why I was just trying to kind of isolate and figure out, on a more subtle level, like what exactly feels quote wrong or misaligned or whatever. Um,
Yeah,
It's super
and you'll never
individual.
yeah,
know. Yeah, and Joel, I say I have no idea what it's like to be a non-binary person because I'm not non-binary, but I don't need to understand
right.
it to let non-binary people be able to exist and thrive and go off
Oh yeah.
the way they want to do it, right? So it's the same way with, I will never understand why people are straight. I have no clue why. There is so much, there's a palette of human experience out there that you're just cutting yourself off from, and so for me, I'll never get it, but I completely understand that you are, right? And so
Yeah,
for me it's
absolutely.
like we just have to live with the tapestry that is humanity. And I say this a lot, is humanity is incredibly beautiful because of how unique everybody is. And it would be a really boring world if everybody came out the same way. And I learned to appreciate the tapestry that is humanity, where I like the splash of color. I like the differences. I like that some people are good at music and some people are good at sports. I like the individuality that everybody brings to that tapestry that makes humanity beautiful. So for me, I don't have to understand why people are like that, but I sure do love to and enjoy to be around it, right? And that to me is what makes humanity beautiful, and there's just no way we're ever going to understand everything.
And
We
I do
just
want to
have the
offer
opportunity to
also,
enjoy.
this is not unique to trans people as well. Cis women get breast reductions and breast augmentations every day. And it's like, why does that woman
Yeah,
want to have giant, big, fake titties? Like, I don't know. Why does
I
that
don't know
trans
either.
woman want to have giant, big, fake titties? Like, I don't know. Probably because it's awesome. I don't know.
I don't know. Like,
Yeah. Well,
I,
yeah. Like I
yeah,
say, I agree with everything you're saying. I guess it just I don't have a bit of a scientific
em-
mind myself, and I just
embrace
try to
it.
just and even putting aside like analytically figuring out quote what causes the feeling. And then I was just trying to articulate what the feeling is. To be honest, it's like since it seems
Not a feeling.
separate from
It's not a
other
feeling, Joe.
gender
It's
things
not
like
one
expression is
individual
more
feeling, I
for
think, is what people get confused about. Like, we say
Yeah.
dysphoria as though it's one feeling, but it's like, it's a complex web of feelings. It's like, I mean, okay, so let me try to describe. When I have a period, because I was born with a uterus, I don't normally really think about my dysphoria until something like that happens. And then I'm like, it's not just a logistical issue. I feel like weirdly ashamed of that. It's like a weird, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like, this shouldn't be happening
hmm,
to me. And I feel embarrassed that it's happening in a way that I don't think women in general feel about their bodies. And like, like to get real personal, like I want to have bottom surgery. And sometimes the only way for me to perform is to be in a headspace where I'm thinking about having the configuration that I want. So I'm like in my 30s and having
hmm,
sexual dysfunction because I feel bad that I don't have this or I do have that, right? So it's like
Yeah.
It's like a complex web of feelings, or like when someone uses the
Yeah.
correct pronouns for me, I'm like, that feels good, or at least that feels comfortable. So it's, there's two ranges of experiences where you get the negative side and the dysphoria, and then you've got the euphoria and the like contentedness and happiness when you finally get there. And some people describe their pre transition as depersonalization, dissociation, depression, just like broadly like a feeling that something is not quite right and you don't really know what it is, but you kind of just feel like shit all the time. There's like a classic
Mm.
quote from a trans woman that says like, I look inside and I ask myself, do I feel like a man or do I feel like a woman? And the answer is that I feel like shit. So
Mm.
like
Ah!
it's complicated. It's hard to pin down.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those things, Joel, as well, is it's that language thing again, right? Where language is complex. So a lot of times people will use the word feeling where that because feeling is a very broad emotional canvas of different things that we can feel. But
Yeah.
it may not be the right word because Joel, you are a man. I didn't say you are feel like a man. You just are, right? It's a state of being for a lot of people.
Right.
And there's no way I don't feel like a woman. I just am a woman, right? And so for me, it's like again, there is a way that language can also be very limited in the way that we describe feelings versus state of being, which is
Oh yeah.
very
Some
different
things are
in my
very hard to
opinion.
articulate. I know.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I really appreciate the call though.
All right. Well, I
How do
appreciate
you
your
feel about the conversation? Talking about feeling, how do you
leadership.
feel about the conversation?
How do I say? I appreciate everything you said. I guess I don't feel quite answered, but I mean, not anything you didn't do. I guess I'm still looking for my own internal articulation of it a little bit,
Yeah,
which I
yeah,
will just have to keep searching for. So
And maybe listen back to the call.
yeah.
Like sometimes stuff gets missed in the middle of a conversation. So maybe listening back to the call might help. And if you have more questions, though, we'll be here, every Thursday. Maybe not me and Josie
oh
specifically,
yeah,
but we
yeah,
generally will be here.
Yeah.
I know.
And
No,
and it, it and
I
it's a practice of self-care too, Joel. And I'll tell you this, to be okay with the unknown. Like if you just don't get it or understand, it's completely valid and okay because you're not a trans person. Right. So there's just no way, like, for example, I like to climb mountains. And I can give you all of the
me
description
too.
of the top of a mountain. Right. Yeah. So you understand. So when you're talking to a non-mountain climber, right, somebody who's never done hiking or hiked a peak before, and you explain the experience of working hard to get to that top of that mountain, if the person's never had that experience before, it's impossible for them to understand, and it's okay for them not to understand. But that's kind of
Yeah,
how it is for trans people explaining their trans experience to people who are not trans. It's like trying to explain a mountain peak to somebody who's never climbed that mountain. And there's just no way right? And it's just how it is. And I think sitting with that uncomfortability and being like, why do I care so much to understand this experience and letting that go could be part of the self-healing process of being able to say, you know what, I don't understand trans people, but that's okay. I don't understand being gay, so that's okay. I'm just going to let
mm,
people live and be free in this country, and that's okay, right? And I
oh yeah,
think that's the
oh
best place that we can all end up being.
oh yeah. And if it wasn't yet clear, I mean, I absolutely agree with all that. But my question is in no way to discount someone's feelings or say they shouldn't or them shouldn't be allowed. I mean, exactly, I'm exactly in your, you
Of
know,
course.
uh, mindset on
Absolutely.
that.
I
I'm just trying to like, again, like I said, language sometimes fails us, but we try to describe things and articulate them as best we can. And I've had trouble, identifying some of these terms or delineating some of them, and I was hoping you could shed some light on it. And you shed some, but I think it's
So Joel,
more.
you need
So,
to talk closer to your speaker because I can't hear you. It's like you're like far
oh,
away. There you
okay.
go.
I'm
Thank
sorry. Is
you.
this better?
Yeah, that's better. You
Yes,
were like
Okay, a
please.
going
Thank you.
into
moment
a
still.
cave. We were just like, oh no, where he's
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
Sorry. All right. Well, yeah. No need to repeat myself.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how much of that you missed, but yeah, I'm just trying to
I got
find
it.
my own language to just sort of define it. It's not justify it or any of that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Just define it better. So that's all.
Yeah.
Of course.
Go watch some
Understood.
transition videos. Like when people update, they're like, I've been on hormones for 6 months or 1 year or whatever. That might help with you just like getting a greater feel for like what do people personally like celebrate? What do they look forward to? What changes are they excited about? Or like, and that could help reflect of also like what is it that they are distressed by? What is it that they want to change? And how does the situation make them feel? How do they feel when their parents describe them this or that or the other? Um, so maybe just getting some more personal experiences can help you kind of inform the
Yeah.
articulation and the vocabulary that you're trying to develop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Awesome.
again, I
Well,
appreciate
thank
it,
you,
and
Joel.
I will keep watching, and maybe some other caller will say the thing that goes like, that helps.
Yeah, the light bulb
Yeah,
moment.
for sure.
Well, thank you so
Please,
much, Joel. We
please do
appreciate
that.
your call. Give us another ring the
All
next
right.
time you have
Thank
some
you.
more questions. Bye
Okay,
Bye.
bye.
I will. Thanks. Bye bye.
Bye.
Okay, I am going to go to the bathroom and refill my water and stuff. So if you want to take another caller, you can
Okay.
get started or do whatever.
Okay, for sure. Well, before we do, just want to go ahead and say, please donate to the spooky fundraising goal that I have. For we're trying to get, we have been getting some donations in, so I can see all of you, and I really appreciate every single one of you. And the link is in the chat as well. But yes, I while Lux is gone, I will say make sure you do your $5 super chats with Team Josie or Team Luxander. Hashtag, you got to put the hashtag or it won't count. And we'll read them at the end, and the winner gets to defend a funny argument, which I think is a lot of fun and something unique that we do here on the Transatlantic Holland Show. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure that you like the stream as well. It helps us in the algorithm. And also, make sure you join the Patreon. Patreon is a fun time. We're starting to do a lot more exclusive content every week on the Patreon. So please join and become a member. It is incredibly fun and a good place for you to get very exclusive content. So with that, I guess we can go ahead and start the next call. We will start with Stephanie. She, her pronouns from the United States. Wants to talk about trans rights. Hello, Stephanie. You are live on the line. How are you?
Hi, Josie. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Well,
So yeah, you want to talk to
uh,
us? Yeah, go ahead.
well, yeah. So first off, I was one of the 9% that said that no, I don't think that every suicide is a murder by those in power, and I kind of wanted to explain when you were starting to talk about like the culture and people around. So I'm sorry, I'm nervous. I'm going to back up and give a little
No, it's
background on
okay.
myself. I
Sure.
am almost 56. I have 5 kids. I was raised with a very racist, homophobic, religious family who's all MAGA right now. And even as a teenager, it absolutely did not set right with me. I didn't understand it. Nothing about it made sense to me. And when I had my own children, I wanted to in my brain, I always thought of it as breaking generational trauma, which meant that I was trying to normalize things. And my oldest, who's 30 now, I would ask him when he was 15, do you have any girlfriends or anybody you're interested in? I remember very distinctly at the dinner table, and he goes, no, I don't. And I said, any boys, any boyfriends that you're interested in? And he said, Mom, no. And I said, that's a very homophobic response. I need to understand, why do you feel like that is a negative thing to ask? Because there would be no difference if you had a boyfriend than if you had a girlfriend. And if you, well, because I'm not gay. I said, but asking somebody who's gay, like that response is showing a lot of aggression towards somebody who has a different sexuality than you. So I was trying to model a normalcy. It is normal. And when my second child was a teenager and sat down very nervously to come out to me, I actually said to her, I am so disappointed because my heterosexual children do not feel the need to come out to me. And I never wanted my children to ever feel like you have to come out to me. You love who you love. And her dad said, are you allowed to cuss on this channel?
Sure.
Yes, yes.
All right. And her dad said, fuck who you want to fuck, just wash your hands afterwards. We don't care.
Yeah.
But But the reason I said no to that poll question is because in my attempt to normalize it, I believe that there's an avenue that I failed in I had spoken to them when their friends wanted to take them to church, explained to them they're trying to convert you. There's a purpose behind it. There's a culture behind it. I failed in normalizing it to explain to them what normal in society means and how that could affect them. I underestimated that normalizing at home still means they have to deal with school kids. They still have to deal with TikTok and television. And I feel like I failed them. They didn't trust the normalcy that I had at home because everything else told them that wasn't going to be genuine and true. And
Yeah.
so
So
now
I just
my
yeah, I don't mean to cut you off. It's just that we want to make sure we have a back and forth. Thank you for sharing all that background. So what is the major crux of the question? So that way we can have the
that is
discussion. I
awesome.
really
That is
appreciate the
exactly. I
background.
was just getting ready to zero in on that, and I
Okay,
appreciate your patience.
great. Thank you.
So my fifth child has a partner that I was introduced as they them because they come from a family that is very not accepting. And it wasn't for almost a full year before he came out. He sat down with me. He's now living in my house. And he said, I'm actually a he, him. And my response to him was, you're no different. You are who you are inside. Whatever you do to your body, however you express who you are, you're no different just telling me a pronoun. And I love you no matter what your name is, whatever. But he just started on testosterone this week. And my question that I'm finally able to go around to is, in trying to support him, to normalize for him, to try to support his relationship with my daughter, what are some things that I might be missing to help him in, I don't want to disregard the experiences that he has outside of the home. Just because I don't care doesn't
Right.
mean that most of culture doesn't. And how can his family is really struggling with this, and what might I do that could best help him, that can best support, love? How do I approach this in a way? This is my first experience in this avenue.
Sure.
How close are you with the
Is this
parents of this
confusing?
child?
I
Do you
am
know the parents very
not.
well? I would say
Not
that's, like, the first
the
thing that I
very
would
first
do.
time. No, the very first time that I met either of them, I met her father. I met his father when he came over to say that he thought something was going on between him and my daughter. And I was like, so? Well, he didn't like that. I mean, he was shaking. He was so upset. And
Mhm.
I cut his hair for him because he wanted a shorter haircut. And when he went home, his dad won't even, as of right now, will leave the room, won't even look at him. It's very, very tense. And they don't really have anything to do with us. I don't really know them or interact with them at all. I only
I
know
think as a
him.
mom, you need to reach out to that mom because that mom is going through it right now. If the dad is opposed, but the kid is on hormones, then the mom is trying to support the kid the best she can. And if her husband is that pissed off at the
Well,
child, then he is not being good to her. And like she might need somebody at this moment. But what I'm trying to get toward is start a relationship with the mom so that she feels supported with her
right.
child, so that her child feels supported, so that she feels safe sending her child to your home, knowing that, like, okay, if there's a fight with dad, my child has a safe place to go be, and just
Well,
making it
and that's the
completely clear to
thing.
everybody that your
The
home is a safe
child,
place.
yeah, the child, the son, is 19 and living at our house,
Oh, really?
Oh,
and he's
Okay.
lived
well,
with us
there.
for the
Well, that
last like
changes
six
everything.
months.
Yeah, yeah, it's not as big of
And
a concern then, what the parents think if
yeah.
you
Right.
are already the safe place for the kid.
Yeah. So disregard because it's a legal adult at this point, and it sounds
Yeah.
like they're getting their health
Exactly.
care because they're a legal adult. I wouldn't even worry. I will say this, Stephanie, because your direct question was, what should I do? And you are already doing it. So I've said it before, but I have studied, I've researched trans people across the country, um, you know, and one of the things that I know from the scientific analysis is that when there is one person that is close to a trans person that accepts them for who they are, the chances of their ideation drop no more than a cis person, right? So you
Uh-huh.
being a safe place, you being a place where they can be accepted for who they are, you are already doing the life-saving work. There's really not much more you can do. You continue to affirm them, you continue to allow a safe place. And like you said, whatever happens outside of the house, it's a really tough time right now. But as long as he has a place to say, you know what, this is what's happening, and having somebody that will love them regardless of what's going on, that is the life-saving treatment. And you are providing that. So I say keep it up. I think you're doing the right thing, and you're being more of a
Is
parent
there
to
anything?
go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Is there? I don't want to be the bare minimum of somebody who keeps somebody from taking a drastic action. I so basically, is there anything that you wish somebody had done for you or that would have helped you along your journey besides just clapping their hands and being a cheerleader and say, "But I love you." Like, is there anything that would have been helpful that
Nope,
others didn't think about?
nope,
I
not for
would
me.
suggest
Maybe helping me get a wardrobe.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe
so
that's about it. Like
I think that,
financially,
like
maybe some money.
that's so true. The struggle that we run into, that I think that this is the place where you're struggling here, is that, like, society is so overtly negative that just accepting queer people feels like it's not doing enough to counterbalance. So if what we're trying to do
You're
is
right.
counterbalance,
Exactly.
yeah, so what we need to do is be proactive in celebrating that. So what I would suggest is, like, you could throw a little mini party, a little gender reveal party with the new name and pronouns and stuff.
Right.
Um, you could, yeah, facilitate the wardrobe, make a whole shopping trip out of it, like, maybe, obviously, like, a limit on what you can get, or maybe we're only going to Ross Dress for
Right.
Less or something. I know money's tight, but, like, make a thing out of it, like, a fun shopping experience, trying to just create moments of joy. Buy a $7 trans flag, do not iron it, and hang it up in your living room. If they're
Ah!
19, they will appreciate it very specifically. I don't know why we don't iron our flags, and it
I
will just
steam mine.
make them
I don't
feel.
care
Okay.
what you
Yeah,
say. I steam my flag. That's because
but
I'm
then
an
they
old
would be
lady
straight.
and I want it to be flat.
They're
Yeah,
straight
yeah.
though afterwards.
No, no. Um, so Stephanie, I will say this. I will say this. Beyond, and look, they're a teenager, right? Like that's the reality, and he may not want a lot of intervention, but this is something I'm asking. I think that would be good for you as a person, because I see what you want, and you want to contribute to someone's experience. And this is what I suggest. I would look into a local P flag chapter, PFLAG
Mhm.
is an organization that is designed for parents and allies of queer and trans children. And I think that it would do you a lot of good to meet with other parents that want to do common good for the community, because I think that maybe will be more fulfilling to you, because it sounds like you're already providing what needs to be provided for the trans individual in your life. You may want to expand that out to the greater trans community. And I think finding solidarity with other parents that want to do good may be the best option for you, to have that fulfillment when a teenager's like, all right, enough, I get it, thank you. But like, because that's going to happen, right? Teenagers are teenagers and they're just like, all right, thank
Right.
you, I don't need this so but there are a lot of parents that need that support, and maybe you can provide that for another parent to help them get where you are currently in your life. That's what I recommend. I think PFLAG's a great organization. Personally, I know a lot of
Okay.
people who work there, and they do a lot of great work. And sometimes the parental stories are very powerful for other parents to know that it's okay to have a trans kid in their lives. So maybe that's something you can do to help yourself feel like you're doing more.
It's so frustrating that the world is so easily cruel, and there's
Hmm.
not enough
Hmm.
love to overcome that. It's
Exactly.
That's how it feels as a
Y-
mom, is just I can
yeah.
love them so hard, and then they go out and still come home with hurt in their heart, because I live in a very religious area. Very
Yeah.
it's so hard, and I know that, and that's I think why I was reaching out to you, is it feels like there's so many avenues for hurt, and I'm just kind of sitting back going, isn't there anything else I can do? It feels so unfair.
P
It's
flag.
so
Do P
stupid.
flag. They need you there. Find a local P flag chapter, and if there isn't one, start one, because you're not the only parent that is dealing with this. And you're right, it is bull crap that this is happening and they're attacking kids for no reason. Like we need you to join the fight, and the best way to do that is probably by joining a PFLAG chapter that's close to you, or starting one yourself. I guarantee you build it, they will come. And people are looking for an outlet, and I would love for you to have this exact conversation about how bullshit it is that we're having to deal with this with other parents who also agree with you, and then you can take action. Maybe go to the local school
Oh,
board to
I
make
would
sure
love that.
there's anti. Yeah, right. So that's what
And I
I
didn't realize
hear
this
when
was
I
going to
have this
flip over onto
conversation with
me,
you.
because I'm feeling so alone in this fight.
Yeah, yeah. So P
So to
flag,
find other
that's what I
people that
hear.
are feeling the same way. No,
Exactly,
I
because I think you're
appreciate,
gonna get
and
more
I
out of it.
appreciate you too, both of you, and what you're
Yeah,
doing.
yeah. Thank you.
It's hard to be a
All
parent
Oh,
right.
did
figure
I
to
lose
a
you?
trans kid.
Oh yeah,
I know
yeah,
how it is. I
yeah.
adopted my younger
It's
You're
sibling who is
raising a
it's
19
so
and it's
e-
unicorn.
it's
tough.
it's so easy to have a trans child. It's just so hard to expose them to what's out there. That's what's hard. I
That's
find it
right.
very easy to love.
Yep,
Very easy to love
Yeah.
yep,
my children
exactly.
and my children's partners. But anyways, I appreciate you guys, and thank you so much for taking my call.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks,
Please go to
Stephanie.
PFLAG National right now. After you hang up, go to the website
I
and see if
am.
there's a close chapter to you. Okay, and if there isn't, make one.
I
All
am.
right, it's not hard. We need you in the fight. I thank you so much.
I've I've been fighting this for 35 years, so
Y-
I am right here with
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Absolutely. Well,
I
thank you so
appreciate
much.
you
All
so
Call us
right,
back
much.
thank
again if
you,
you
and
need to.
enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you.
Yeah.
You
Bye
too.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. Oh my God, what just happened? Oh, I got a text message. If I get a text in the middle of the show, I have to actually give a shit now because sometimes it's Jimmy. Sometimes it's Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Right.
All right. So, oh, by
Perfect.
the way, oh wait, we just closed lines. So we are not taking any additional calls today. We have 3 more. And if you guys didn't know, today's Thursday, which means we're doing calling it now after this. Uh, do you not know Thursday?
No, I don't. I
It's like
never heard of
literally
this.
like
I'm too
Thor.
old.
like
I
Thor, the
know.
god of thunder, but that's
Yeah,
like what
I
it
figured
actually
that
used to
much.
be, I think, in like Old English. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
did know this. I did take ancient mythology in college. You're now.
You gotta get on my nerd wavelength. You
Yeah,
gotta get on a similar
yeah,
nerd wavelength as each other. Let's play
yeah,
D&D
that's
together
right.
sometime, and then that'll be, like, the
Yeah,
bridge that we gotta
that
yeah.
will that will that's it. That's exactly what we're missing. I
Yep,
love it.
but we're starting to do Calling It Now on the Jimmy Snow channel more often. We're kinda working our way up to doing 5 days a week, so, I will be on after this. You just have to hang out in the chat when we end in about an hour, about 1 hour, and then we'll switch right over, and we get lots more, like, spicy political calls, so it's like, if you wanna transition from good vibes here to torture MAGA vibes on the Calling It Now show, just hang out in the chat at the end of the show, and it will carry you on over. So we do still have a
Yeah.
couple calls left. And don't forget there's Cus I Wanna tomorrow evening, um, with Forrest and Jimmy. So do we want to do 19.8?
Yeah. Let's go with that.
All right, we are bringing on Sam, he, him pronouns from Maryland, who wants to debate. You are live on the line with Luxander and Josie. What's up, Sam?
Hey, what's up? How y'all doing?
Okay. Doing good. Are you running? You're breathing into the mic kind of hard.
Ah, live on the third floor, and I'm a heavy guy.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
Okay,
It's just
okay,
like
for sure. I just
you might have to pull the mic
You're
away from your face
breathing
a little bit
into the phone.
when you're not talking.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
sorry,
very
sorry. Can you hear me? Is that
For
better?
a second,
It's
I was
okay.
like, "Is this a murderer right now?"
Yes. Yeah. I thought you did something real bad. I thought you were doing something real bad. All right. How are
Oh,
you,
no,
Sam?
no, no. I'm sorry. I had the mic
It's all
close because
right.
I wanted to make sure y'all could hear me.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
all
no
good. When you're
worries. I
talking,
can hear
yeah,
you
but
just
when you're
fine
not
now.
talking, maybe a little bit of distance. But yeah, you wanted to debate. Lay it out on us. What do we want to start with? What are we doing?
So I got a couple key points. My goal is to kind of broaden my perspective. It's not to double down at all, but I definitely want to have a healthy debate about, I guess, to start, and I guess the big question I have is, what age do you feel it's appropriate to start gender affirming care, and why? And I want to preface that with, I've read a recent article. I don't know. I think it was 21. Somebody sent it to me the other day from an Abby Walsh doctor, like kind of laying
Mhm.
out that the foundation of gender affirming care kind of says start the conversation as early as obviously the child does, but maybe not drugs until as early as 15, and then any kind of surgery shouldn't be performed until at least 18. So I guess, do you
Well,
guys align with that?
what I align with is the fact that this is doctor informed healthcare, right? So as long as there's a doctor involved and there is like a long history of psychological, counseling and everything that happens throughout this child's life, it is all part of the formula, right? So it's not like a 10-year-old says, "Oh, like out of nowhere, oh, I'm a girl," right? Then they automatically get into the medical system. It is still a very high level process that is required. So a doctor has to make that assessment when it comes to this type of healthcare. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but the way it's presented, just like to the public, right? Because oftentimes people do not care to do any kind of additional research. But the general understanding is that, like, we should be offering it. We should be talking about writing legislation to make sure that it's offered in every state or federally protected. But with that being said, if the approach is, hey, let's make sure we're always involving a medical professional,
Yeah.
what are there medical professionals in every state specifically, doing research and versed in trans
Yes.
medicine and stuff like that? Because when I try to
Yes.
search it, I often get very skewed results. So it's
Do you
like,
know what
who's really the
endocrinology
leaders
is?
in the forefront in that community? You know what I mean?
Sam, do you know what endocrinology is? The profession of medical endocrinology? Okay, so there's
Mhm.
endocrinologists that already understand the hormone pathways of a human being. That's what they're specialized in. So yes, every endocrinologist has some training or understanding, or at least can read how to perform a standard, standards of care for the diagnosis of gender dysphoria and then treating it through a medical system. So yes, every doctor, there is every state, and mostly every part of a state has some understanding professionally, medically, about transitional related healthcare.
And how long would you say that that's been a practice?
I don't know, about 35, 40
Because I
years.
because I can't.
Oh,
Probably longer,
Okay,
but
because like because
probably longer,
that's
probably
what I'm
maybe
having.
60.
I think that there are some cases of trans people getting access to puberty blockers in like the 70s and like
Yeah, the
fully
70s.
assimilated growing up. So yeah, we're talking like longer
Yeah.
than all of us have been alive.
Yeah. There have been people who
And
have received healthcare in the 70s and are still trans to this day, alive and living and being happy and thriving as trans people. Yeah.
if I'm average Joe Smo on the street, how would I like find that information? Because right now, right, like, it could be conjecture, it could be, maybe not to say you guys are lying or anything like that, but how would I be able to prove what you just said? You know what
There
I'm
is
saying?
a
'Cause
really
that's
excellent there's a really great article on Julia Serrano's Medium blog thing. It's not a blog, I guess, but like she has an article called Gender Affirming Care for Trans Youth is Neither New Nor Experimental, a timeline and compilation of studies. She rigorously goes through all of the issues that people might have with gender affirming care for young people and provides hardcore data for every single point she brings up, and I will put it in the chat here uh, if you want to look it in the chat. But also, just to reiterate, Julia Serrano, Gender Affirming Care for Trans Youth is Neither New Nor Experimental. That's like one
how do you spell that last name?
Serano.
Okay, awesome.
So that's like
All right,
one
Yeah,
that
but
so
she's an
she points to a
academic.
lot of other data. And like, yes, of course, there is so much information about this, like flooding the airwaves. And all of your Google search is also like dependent on your previous search results and algorithm and everything. So it can be kind of hard to find this information if it's not like if you don't know where to seek it out. You can also check out Google Scholar if there's any specific studies that you're interested in. Just use some of those search terms like gender affirming care for minors or something like that. Google Scholar is like how you can access just the hard datas. But this article from Julia Serrano is useful because it also explains the data and what the results actually mean in a way that can be kind of hard to parse if you are not practiced at reading academic studies.
Yeah,
okay,
and Sam, I have another question for you. Isn't it in the
yep.
trans community's best interest to get it right?
In the whose community? Would you say
Uh,
that part again? It
the
kind of cut
trans
out.
community. Isn't it in the trans community's best interest to get the medical healthcare right?
I would agree with that, yes. But
Yeah, yeah.
again,
So
so
that's
much
why
of
it's been
y'all's
studied to
message
death.
comes from, but so much of
I don't
what y'all want is different because you get
not
and again I'm not
necessarily.
trying I try to be a person that goes and does the research, but I also ask
Sure.
the question for the layman and for the average person who's just going to go off what they
Yeah,
see or what they hear on the news and run with that. So the issue
yeah.
is for the first time I've heard two people sit down actually agree, hey, this is where you should go, this is what you should look at. When you go anywhere else other than this channel, you get
Mhm.
varying information from qualified people, medical people, and unqualified people, which I think is
Absolutely,
very
absolutely.
counterintuitive to the trans community getting it right. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, the thing is, go ahead, Lux.
I struggle a little bit with that positioning because you're kind of framing this as though there is a controversy, and I would agree that a controversy has been manufactured. So, but if we look at the overwhelming majority of qualified individuals all agree that trans people deserve healthcare and that trans youth benefit from interventions while they are still young. So if like in a situation where okay, think of this as like uh the earth being round or whether evolution is real or whether climate change is real. Like, yes, the overwhelming majority of people who study the climate say, hey, things are bad, capital B, bad. And then you have like other people who are like, well, I have three whole scientists who say that climate change actually isn't happening or it can be explained by normal things about the climate changing. And it's like, okay, you have three people who technically have a degree in the field, maybe, but who clearly are going against the majority. And now I understand that an appeal to majority is not good enough on its own. What I'm saying is, if people's job is to study something and they have a vested interest in getting it right, they want to make sure they have accurate information, especially if it has something to do with the well-being of children. We want to make sure we have super accurate information. And so, like, I'm not appealing to majority or authority. I'm appealing to the scientific process and the rigor with which these institutions adhere to that scientific process, where we want to make sure we're getting positive outcomes, especially for children. So, yeah, when we're talking about trans issues and you're like, it seems like there's a controversy. It seems like there are experts who disagree. It seems like, and then obviously you've got a bunch of people who aren't qualified to speak on the issue, who have a moral opposition or an ideological opposition, which the moment you start to pick it apart, falls completely apart. Ask someone who's against transgender surgery. They're alleging that it's being done on minors. Ask them how they feel about male circumcision. Ask them how they feel about corrective surgeries on intersex babies who cannot consent to that. Ask them what they think about teenage boys with gynecomastia receiving top surgery, which is the overwhelming majority of gender affirming surgeries done on under 18s, is boys who have gynecomastia. So, yeah, I guess I'll stop there.
But at the same time, to that point, right? You also have to, I feel like oftentimes what we've been doing lately, just in general as an American society, is we're removing context and nuance. You have to understand that if it was if at its inception, if it was understood, hey, circumcision for 95% of cases is going to be better, when it comes to hygiene, better when it comes to aesthetic, and just overall a very minimally, shouldn't say minimally invasive because you're cutting something off of somebody, but at the end of the
With no
day,
anesthesia.
it
We have no
became
idea, but
it
Sam, we
became
have
a
no idea how this impacts people psychologically. We could the
oh,
source of male
I,
sexual frustration and male loneliness could be that the most sensitive part of your body is mutilated before you could possibly consent and with no anesthesia. Like, we don't know how bad this is for people. It's clearly not medically necessary. It's cultural for some people.
but
It's like, oh,
it
I
could
want him to
all
look
but
like
it could
me for some
also be the
reason.
opposite of what you're saying. It's not
What
100%. It could be bad. It could be good.
Well,
Like
no,
well,
it doesn't.
Sam,
we know that
So
there's no
to
medical
so
benefit. So why would you take away a healthy body part if there's no medical benefit? So like this
but
is what
there
I
but
mean is
there
like
but there is a
you're like
but
I
there
stand opposed. No, there
according
isn't.
to some according to some there is a medical
You need
benefit
okay, listen, I want you to
to having
understand
a
something.
circumcision.
You need an overwhelming body of evidence to say there is like a huge benefit and a huge detriment in order to justify cutting off parts of a penis of a baby. Like the fact that you think, oh well, whatever, maybe there's a good reason for that, but then you're drawing all this skepticism toward trans people and trans healthcare, which we do on consenting people who are old enough and have been through a rigorous medical process, and we can see a clear medical benefit and a clear medical detriment to not doing it. But then, like with circumcision, you're like, it's probably good. Like, I do not respect your position.
Okay, but even to that point, how is that not apples to apples? Because you do not have to go through top surgery to accept your body and to live healthily and happily for the rest of your life.
Sam,
You
Sam,
don't
let me tell
Some
you
have
people
something,
to
do.
okay?
you don't have to
Some
Sam,
have
people
some
do.
people do.
puberty blockers, and you don't have to have certain
Yet
aspects of
some people
gender
do.
affirming care to be
Sam,
happy and to be
Lots of people
healthy
do.
that's
from
your
a
Lots of
medical
opinion.
people
only
do.
That's your
standpoint.
Lots of
opinion.
people do.
Sam, that's your opinion. I'm talking about medical informed doctor prescribed healthcare. You're talking about people just doing this willy-nilly. That's not what's happening. This is doctor prescribed medical healthcare. Do you think that we're just doing things to kids
So
without
so
doctor and parental consent?
so can I get an example of a medical necessity to cut off breasts?
Of a cis boy or a trans man? What are you
Of
looking
of
for?
some of a child who's been through therapy, been on puberty blockers, and is known to be trans by
Okay,
by a medical
so you
Puberty
don't
professional.
so
blockers,
you
they
don't
What is
probably
care.
the
wouldn't need top
hold on
surgery.
hold, hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Just let me finish. So
Okay.
because if we're gonna add psychological benefit to medical benefit, then I can understand your standpoint.
Do you
Because if
think
you're
being
saying this
alive
person
is medically
may be
relevant?
less
Do you think a person being alive or dead is a relevant medical fact?
being a
Do you think that
yes,
that's a medical yeah,
obviously there
it's a relevant factor to their well-being. So if someone is going to potentially die if they don't receive health care, we should give them the health care, yes?
correct.
Do you think the
But
reason
again,
for them potentially dying
before you
matters?
interject it,
No, no, no. I am in the
but
middle of
before you
asking you a line of
interject it,
questioning. I'm in the middle of asking you a line of questioning. Does the manner of their
okay,
death matter in whether we should intervene?
that's it. In some cases, sure,
You're
because I
saying
know
it
where you're
does
walking
matter.
this to.
So
But yes,
you're so what I'm saying is if there is a pretty decent chance that a patient could die if they don't receive a surgery, like is there
hmm
like does it matter how they
but
would
can
die?
you at least concede that it's a cosmetic surgery and there's not a
No.
medical, there's a
No.
No.
psychological
No, no, no.
No.
You're Sam,
necessity
I
in
really
your
need you to
example.
focus up. Focus up. I really need you to focus up because what I'm trying to drive you toward is the manner in which that patient might die. Does it matter how they could die if they don't receive the care? If receiving the care means they don't die? It should be a pretty easy question for you to answer.
Sure.
You know that there is a chance that the patient could die
Okay.
if they don't receive this surgery. Does it matter how they could die?
If I guess I'm not understanding the question, and
Okay, so
I'm
the question is,
truthfully not trying
if
to
the
argue.
child is at
I'm trying
risk
to
of
understand.
dying by suicide, if the child is at risk of dying by suicide, if they don't receive
Uh
this
huh.
medical care, then it is
Uh huh.
life-saving medical intervention, is it not? It doesn't matter if they were gonna die
Yes.
from breast cancer or die from suicide, either way, it's
Okay.
life-saving
Said
medical
yes.
care.
Lux.
Cool.
Sam said
Okay.
yes. Okay.
It was just it came in the middle
Um,
of me finishing my point. So what I'm saying here is medical intervention, like surgery, like puberty blockers, is life-saving medical care. When you say, "Oh, well, whatever, you're gonna bring some psychological problem into it," like, guess what? Psychology is a critical component to medical well-being, and it is a huge factor in whether you live or die, actually.
Okay.
so
Does that kinda make
Sam,
sense?
um, Sam,
I
so
mean, okay. Uh,
okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Make your point.
no. Go ahead. No, ask your question. Go ahead. It's fine.
Yeah. So getting back to the crux of it all about doctor prescribed healthcare that is informed by medical providers with consent of a parent, consent of the person that's getting the surgical care or hormone care or puberty blockers. Why does it matter to you if that is the process that is currently happening?
And when you say why does it matter, what do you mean? Excuse me.
Like, why does it matter so much to you if it's already a medical process that's been studied to death, parents are involved, and a medical professional, a doctor, and a psychologist are involved? Why does it matter if it's happening when the rate of regret is less than 1%?
I guess it matters because from my understanding, I could be wrong because it was another thing that I wanted to ask. But from my understanding, you guys want gender affirming care, and I shouldn't say when I say you guys, I'm just encompassing like people in general. Want gender affirming
Yeah.
care to be something that's kind of federally protected, right, and put in place. So that way everybody can get it. It's always covered
Have
and it's offered in every state, right?
Yeah, everybody should
Is
have access to
that's
healthcare, yeah. Everybody should have
right?
access to
So
healthcare, yeah. Regardless of their gender
because
identity, they should have access to healthcare.
right because right now not every state offers gender affirming care right now,
Well, some of them have
according to
Some.
my
recently made it
research.
illegal.
Yeah.
Right, right. So it
But
matters
before
to
that, it
me
was
because
available everywhere.
to go back to
Before
your
it
question,
was
it
being
matters
made
to me.
illegal before it was made
Mhm.
illegal, it was available everywhere. It was politicians that
Okay,
wanted to put their hands in a doctor's office that made things illegal when it was fine before. Big government
okay,
stopped it.
okay. So this was once a legal thing across all 50 states. And when do you know when exactly it became illegal? Do we know under which
In certain
administration?
states, it was under governors in individual states. There was no federal mandate that ever happened. So it was, I guess,
Until
Greg
recently.
Abbott is one of them. Well, no, I mean, there even
There's,
now
like,
federally,
executive
there
orders
has
and
no
stuff.
been. Yeah, but nothing federally has been put into place to stop gender affirming care for youth. So a lot of them have been controlled specifically by the attorney generals and the governors of red states in particular. So Republican states are the only states so far that have banned gender affirming care. Not all of them, but most or
And
some. Not all.
you think that they've done this purely just to restrict Americans' rights and with no evidence at all as to why they did it? You just think that it was just a
Correct.
thing to
Yeah,
stop trans
Yes.
people from being
it's an
able to access healthcare?
ideologically motivated action. It's an ideologically
Yeah,
motivated
Sam.
action. They're using us as a scapegoat group to take more executive power. This is like we are the scapegoat group along with immigrants in the same way that the Jews were the scapegoat group for the rise to power of the Nazi party.
So, and I would just
Okay.
add this more than I'll add this as well. Right now, there's a lot, and I'm a politician. I'm running for office. I work in
Yep.
politics. I
I
work
saw
with
that.
policymakers across the country. So the reality is this. Right now, there are people who are trying to pass legislation that works for their base and not for the general public. So rather than focusing on trying to feed everyone with
You got
SNAP,
some
there's
music in
something
the
in the
background,
background.
Sam.
Okay, there it goes. Thank you, thank you. So rather than actually focusing on hard issues like feeding people, making sure kids have access to schooling and things like that, they trot out this trans issue so it makes it look like they're actually doing their jobs when this really affects a very small population of people. When we're talking about transition related healthcare, we're talking about 450 people maybe a year is what we're talking about across the country, not just these states. We're talking about across the country when we have people who are literally not getting food right now. So what it's become is this like political red meat for the base to say, hey, look, I'm doing something, rather than the efficacy of why they're doing the policy in general. Politics, it's screwed up, right, Sam? Like, politics is
Yeah.
freaking trash. People do stuff
Yeah.
because they're freaking not in it for the people. They're in it for themselves, and they're just trying to get a win on the board to fuck with trans people instead of actually like doing their job. They're not even opening up the government, but yet we're still talking about trans kids. It's really weird.
I get that. I get that. Because ultimately, I don't have an issue with anybody who wants to do anything. That's but
Yeah,
when it comes to youth, I have children, so it's like I want to
yeah,
make sure because this is the first time that I'm hearing and actually getting resource material to be able to research how that SOP is, like that standard operating procedure is,
yeah,
for getting
yeah,
that diagnosed, getting that covered, getting that you know where there is a process whereas literally
yeah.
30 minutes before this phone call I could not find a process. So now that
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah, the
having
process exists.
some insight into it, cool, great.
It may also
Whether or
be
not I
Yeah,
that
agree with
because
everything, it's fine.
certain clinics
But
might be restricting that
um
access to information on their websites. Like because people are under attack right now, in order to protect their client base, in order to protect the trans people who are their patients, some clinics are taking this information off of their websites and things. So it might be another reason why it's kind of difficult to find information. But I want to reiterate, or like perhaps iterate for the first time, like when we are doing this care for under 18s, we are doing a multidisciplinary team. So we have like a psychologist, we also have an endocrinologist, we have a primary care physician, and we have the parents. Everybody has to be on board, and the conversation is led by the young person. Like they're the ones who say, "I want to cut my hair," or "I feel distress at the idea of starting to grow boobies, so can we please do puberty blockers?" The earliest anyone can get medical intervention, it's not even an age, it's a stage of puberty called Tanner stage 2, and we also give medication to kids who enter puberty far too early. So if a 6-year-old girl starts having a period, we go, "Oh no," for social reasons primarily, but also in some cases medical reasons because precocious puberty is associated with all-cause mortality. Um, so we give this medication to people who are not trans, but for a trans kid who's hitting puberty at a normal time, probably it's going to be like age 12 is the earliest. And that's a medication that pauses puberty for a maximum of 2 years so that we have 2 more years of getting to talk to a doctor, getting to talk to a therapist, and then after that period of time, because you can't do puberty blockers for longer than 2 years, we have a discussion of like, okay, what is now medically appropriate since we've had so much time to talk to all these professionals and get all these specialists involved, and now we can feel confident that this kid can proceed or stop taking the medicine, whatever. We have a high degree of confidence in that process to such a point where almost 100% of kids who get puberty blockers in the first place continue on cross-sex hormones and are very happy, well-adjusted adults years and years and years later. That's how rigorous the process is, that very, very, very few people even get the first medicine that pauses it without like a lot of, time in the doctor's office making sure that this is what they need. So I just want you to feel confident that we're not speeding kids through this process. And in those rare cases where it's like, "Oh, I got top surgery at 16," it's because they specifically sought out an informed consent professional. And in some states, the medical age of consent is 16. So that's like the only times that that's going to
Again,
happen.
you're crossing streams there, Lux. Yeah, it's like so the only reason anybody is getting top surgery at 16 is because they didn't have the first process first, and they came out at a older age. So they came out maybe at 15, maybe they came out at 14,
Yeah,
and they
like
still have
Chloe
to
Cole
go.
like shopped around specifically for a doctor that would give her informed consent care, and that was like
Yeah,
questionable
yeah.
ethics on the part of that surgeon in the first place.
Yeah, so there's always bad care. But Sam, I just want to put it into like real world for you a little bit, and everything Lux said is like the system itself. But if you had a kid, and I've talked to conservatives that are Republicans, diehard MAGA people that actually have trans kids. I've actually had those conversations because when your kid is in pain and your kid is suffering, you always try to seek professional advice of the people that are there to support you. So, for example, like if you had your child saying, "Oh, I have a stomach ache. Oh, I have a stomach ache," and it just doesn't go away for days, right? You're probably going to what? Seek a medical professional, correct?
Right.
Right. So because you want somebody's professional opinion to give you the right advice and do the diagnosis to figure out why your kid has a stomach ache for multiple days, right? So it's you trusting the medical process to take care of your child because you don't have the medical knowledge to figure out why the diagnosis is why how to diagnose your kid with a prolonged stomach ache. If and so let me put it another way. If your kid at a young age is like, I'm not a boy, I'm a girl, and they do this for a long time. At first, you're just like, oh, that's interesting. All right, yeah. And then after a couple months go by and they just don't stop and they keep saying it over and over and over, you're probably like, man, maybe we should go ahead and see a professional psychologist to figure out what's going on. And then after about a year or two with the psychologist is going to be able to give you recommendations as a parent and be like, Your kid is showing symptoms and signs of gender dysphoria, which is a diagnosis, by the way, and only
Yeah.
1%, maybe 1 to 2% of the entire youth population is diagnosed with that, like 1% really, maybe even less, is diagnosed with gender dysphoria. And then once you have a diagnosis in your hands, that's when you actually talk to a physician or an endocrinologist, like we said at the beginning of this call. An oh, did I freeze? Okay, sorry.
Mhm.
So an endocrinologist at the beginning of this call will then assess the gender dysphoria diagnosis and then be like, oh, okay, here are the options that we can give your child. And if you are a parent trying to relieve the suffering of your child, I think you would take all of those medical opinions very seriously. Yes or no?
Yeah, of course. But
Yeah.
I
So
also do have to say this too, though. Not to cut you short, but there are, and I'm not trying to steer away from the point at all, but there are so many cases, where you do get poor medical advice, and there is bad care,
yeah,
and
and
sometimes
you can get
that
second
happens
opinions.
so often, and that's true, and that and again, I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to derail your point, but like I said, I always ask questions and try to make the statements that a layman or just a regular dude off the street or a lady off the street or whoever off the street would say. But if you
Yeah.
don't have the information or you've never shared that perspective of being even able to know you can get a second opinion, sometimes it's
Well,
hard to conflate, or it's hard not to conflate one instance of bad care with the whole healthcare system. That's all so
right.
it's
Medical
just,
trauma
for
is
me,
real. I
now
know
now
lots
that
of
I
people
have
who've
this
been
call
mistreated.
and
Yeah.
I have this perspective, I get it. There's a whole process, there's information. Because again, I'm 31 years old. I have not heard of
Sure.
I didn't start hearing about trans people until 2017, 2018. In the like, it just in the general scheme of conversation in the public eye of
Same.
of our society. We didn't, what I mean? I didn't have anybody trans in 2012 when I graduated high school.
Same.
Like,
Sam. Same.
we didn't have
I
that.
I
So,
transitioned I transitioned at 34 because I grew up in conservative rural Texas that didn't tell me this information. It didn't stop me to know that I wanted to be a girl since 8 years old. It's a very unique experience for a trans person as well. And I just want you to think about what you just said to me about being a parent and trying to figure out what is best for your kid. Think about all of those parents that are dealing with the fact that they actually have a trans kid themselves and are doing the same thing that we are talking about right now. And they don't want the government getting their greasy hands all over their doctor's ability to do a diagnosis. That's all trans people are saying. Trans people are saying that the parent going through this difficult process of trying to find relief for their kid, there shouldn't be a government that comes in and tells a doctor what they can and cannot do. Would you agree with that?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So
It's
so
my
that's
child, it's
all
not the
trans
government's
people are
child.
saying. Exactly. And that is exactly what I and every trans person is fighting for, is to allow doctor prescribed healthcare that is informed by data, medical facts, and standard operating procedures, like you said, standards of care, with the parent and the patient involved. I don't want the governor of Texas in my medical exam room. It's none of his fucking business. But the fact
Right.
is, governments have decided to politicize a very personal issue that parents are dealing with every day. And instead of them dealing with the suffering of their kid, they're dealing with the politics of being called bad parents because they are dealing with something very specific and something very unique that only affects 1% of the population. And now they're having to deal with the politics of taking care of their child. And I think it's wrong and I think it's fucked up. And I do not believe that politicians should be in the business of telling doctors what they can and cannot do.
Yeah, because politicians are not medical professionals. I agree with that. Because that's
Exactly.
anybody telling anybody how to do
Exactly.
their fucking job. Like, I mean, you're
It-
not going to tell me how to how to do my job when I've been doing my job for 8 years and you've been working at McDonald's or you've
exactly.
been in an office building. Like, I understand that. So yeah, I
Yeah,
can
Sam. And
definitely concede to that, and we can all find common ground there for sure.
Yeah. So that's really what where I wanted to get, because in my mind it's like we all are lay people in different policies and different thoughts and different understandings of different things that we understand. But that's why we have medical professionals, and that's what's special about having a good medical system that is allows us to be treated for the diseases and the issues that we're having. And it's important for us to let doctors do their job, because that's what they went to school and devoted their lives to do. We need to make sure, and yes, there's bad doctors, but that's why we need to be able to have second opinions and different abilities to say, no, you're a quack, I'm going to find somebody different. And then that's the way that our medical system works. That's the freedom. But no government should tell you what you can and cannot do when it comes to medical care. It just needs to be informed by science and medical clinicians that understand what they're doing. And that's my point. And I think we agree there.
No, we do.
I think
So
that's where our common
and
ground
so
is.
but so I guess my last question would be, you know, what exact so outside of gender affirming care for youth and just you know, medical care as a whole, right? So outside of that,
Mhm.
what what else, I guess, from like a litigation standpoint, or just maybe a social, or maybe even an ideological standpoint, are trans people fighting for? Because I always hear like trans rights, trans rights. If we're because I feel like if it was just about the medical thing,
It's
it would just be,
it's it's
you
it's
know, trans rights and
it's
medical care.
trans
So what
rights.
outside of
Yeah.
that is, you
So
know, because like
so
I don't
he-
understand, you know, what else
here's
there
my
is
answer.
to
Let me answer the question, Sam.
go ahead.
One second.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, go ahead.
So trans rights means that we want human rights like everybody else. We want access to healthcare. We want access to public spaces. We want access to be able to live in society without getting hassled by the government just because of our identity. And that is essentially what trans rights means. Is we just want to be treated like any other human in America. That's it. We want access to healthcare. We want access to bathrooms and public spaces. We want access to be able to grow up and live and be the people that we are. That's what trans rights means. We don't want anything special. We don't want any special treatment. All we want is the same treatment that you get, Sam. That's it. That's what trans rights means, because those rights are being ripped away from us. That's why we have to say it. Does that make sense?
It does to a point, but I don't understand another
I want to give one specific
example of.
example, and then Sam, I honestly think that you
Okay.
would benefit more from calling back next week on this, because we are reaching toward the end of the show. We have to
We're
start wrapping things up pretty
running low
soon.
on time.
Yeah, like okay,
Okay.
so let's just give one example. Discrimination protections. It is legal currently in a lot of places for you to not hire someone just because they're trans, to not offer someone an apartment just because they're trans. That is one of the critical things that, like, we if we have sex-based protections for people, like, oh, you can't fire a woman just because she's a woman, or you can't fire a woman just because she got pregnant. That is a specific sex-based right that she has because she can get pregnant, right? So trans people should not be able to be fired for no other reason than them being trans. That's a legal protection that we do not possess currently. So when we're talking about trans rights, like sometimes a group needs unique protections, like pregnant women do. But with that, I think that we have to wrap up. I really appreciate your call. I hope that this has illuminated some things, and I really look forward to talking to you again, Sam.
Okay. No problem. Thank you.
We appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day.
Yeah.
You too.
Thank you, Sam.
Okay, so I have to say,
All right.
I'm so sorry to our 2 callers who've been waiting. We went a little bit longer than we expected with a couple of those, like, really, we need to get the information and like get this done kind of calls. So we are not going to be able to take Aria or
Oh,
Olivia. If you can call back next week, we will make sure to prioritize those calls. And I'm so sorry
tell
that we didn't have
tell the
time.
screener.
The screener has actually gone.
Yeah.
So this is me making the
No,
public
tell the
announcement.
screener next week.
Oh, tell the
Tell the
screener next week
screener
that you
next
got
week.
skipped. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we'll make sure to
We're so
prioritize your
sorry.
calls.
Yeah, yeah.
We got to do super
That
chats
usually
though,
doesn't happen.
because
All
we have a
right.
hard cutoff. We have to cut off exactly at 5 so that we can start the new show at 5. Blah 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 blah. Stupid business stuff. Anyway, it's time for super chats. Get those $5 or more super chats in between now and the end of the show. Get your hashtag vote. Hashtag Team Josie. Hashtag Team Lux. And the loser has to defend a silly position. There's a poll in the chat. What's winning right now? Trump Ballroom for drag balls only is winning by a large margin. So it seems like that's the silly position we will have to defend at the end here. Josie, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, $100. Thank you so much from Bobtailed Trucker 2521 hashtag Josie. I like it.
Strong start. Thank you so much. That's very generous.
Strong start. Yeah, very
First
generous. Thank
donation.
you.
Thank you for £5 from Sean Loves Maths. 3 never divides n to the n squared plus 1 for natural n. I'm in my final year of my PhD. Please search Isherwood final stretch of PhD to donate. Man,
Aw.
post-grad education is tough. Good luck for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 60 shekels from Poetical Irony, the official pre-TACIS off the line online poetry jam #5 came and went with just me again. Looking forward to the next week. Hashtag Team J. I was going to make Johnny 5/team movie, but until Josie wins her election, no fence sitting. All right. Thank you.
True. Thank you for $5 from Bramley, who says the conjecture for knots K1 and K2 in the 3 sphere, U parentheses K1 hashtag K2 equals U K1 plus U K2 has been demonstrated to have a false case. Hooray, math. Hashtag Team Lux. I'm just
It's a
casting
false
spells here.
case. I didn't know there was a false case to that. Anyway, sorry. I'm like I am become
You
a
know what
little
that means?
intrigued.
Is that a Navy
Okay.
thing? That is not. I have no idea what that
No,
means.
no, it's just the idea that the fact that you can't put a U in it. Yeah. Anyways, yeah.
I don't
And it
understand it, so
made sense
don't.
in my brain. Maybe it was just a synapse that I freaking dusted off, and I was like, wait a minute,
You were
what?
like
How is that
calculus,
not?
dusting it off.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, wait, that's not real. I'm skeptical. Anyways, $10 from Joshua Everett 9887 in solidarity with Josie on accidentally subsiding entirely off of coffee at least once a month. Hashtag Team Josie. Hashtag Josie for governor someday. Let's win this one first, and then let me build that legislative record. Let me, I got to build that legislative resume. I would just say
So
that
true.
Josie for Maryland is timeless. I'm just putting that out there.
So true, bestie. Thank you
that
for
domain that
$4.99.
domain works in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I just got to keep
Yes.
the lock on it. $4.99 from
Yeah.
QA Colin, who says, Luxander, where find crochet pattern for your shirt? Josie, do you know about the fiber artists fighting oppression sit-in March 8th, 26 at the National Mall? Hashtag Team Josie. I don't know. I didn't know about
I don't
that. That's cool, though.
know. I don't know
I
about
followed
that.
a
That's
pattern for
cool.
this that she took off the internet while I was in the middle of making a second one for my friend. So unfortunately, it no longer exists. I think because someone stole her pattern. So
Hmm.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fiber artists fighting oppression sounds like a group that I should look into, though.
No kidding. $5 from Mirage3304. Today I steeled myself and used a public women's restroom midday first time. Despite what I might face, anxiety attacks, tears after, but win. Hashtag Team Josie. Well,
You did it.
congratulations. Definitely. You did it. You did it. And
Can
then
everybody
after,
see?
and then after, yeah.
He's over there.
Better not. Yeah, as a cutie. No, and then soon, Mirage, it will just be going to the bathroom. So, congratulations for your first time. And yeah, so I still remember my first time.
High five. $10 from Beakers Squeakers, who says, my first ever super chat. Thank you. Been wanting to call in for a while now, but I'm always working. I know. We do this show really early in the day. I'm so sorry. It's not going to change anytime soon. Love you all and everyone else on TACIS and the line. Hashtag Team Luxious. I'll take it. Thank you.
Yeah. $10 from Fiona the Foxy. Genuinely surprised at this conversation. Tyler seems to be listening. Yeah. Some people just want to talk to trans people about these issues, and I think people actually see the value in that. So It's really good. That's why I always take the calls the way I do. It's always, and I give them good faith until they prove me wrong.
Sometimes people just don't know stuff and they wanna know stuff. So, yeah, that's good.
Mhm.
Thank you for the €10 from Palfly, who says, "Fun fact, German, the language, is terrible for non-binary people. Makes a lot of sense now why I've never really liked it, and I feel a lot more comfortable in English. Hashtag Team NB. I do approve of Mitternacht, though." That sounds like it contradicts
I don't know.
itself, but it only supports itself, so that was a little bit confusing. But yeah, lots of languages are really difficult like that, where it's like, Spanish, every single thing in that language is masculine or feminine. So it's like, of course, there's the people use like Latine instead of like the O or the A. And so there is like technically something you can jam in there to kind of make it work, but it's clearly not designed that way.
Well, Latin is starting to
It's
catch
catching
on.
on
It's
finally.
been
Good,
there.
good.
It's been there. It's just that nobody asked non-binary people in Spanish-speaking nations what they've been using. Like it's not
Oh,
like
okay.
non-binary people just appeared. Latinx is completely academic of like English-centric academics that started studying it, and then therefore what happens is the body of evidence of academia starts to build on itself. So when you have studies that have Latinx on there first, then everybody just builds off of the data that already exists. So then it
Mhm.
becomes international in that way. But nobody asked non-binary Latinx people how they identified as.
So were
It's
were
really
people in
frustrating.
Spanish-speaking countries already using the E, Latine, and then it was in
Hmm.
America that Latinx? It's like, but it's
Hmm.
supposed to be pronounced Latine, but it's like the fucking X, like the folks with the X on folks. That's
Yeah,
completely
yeah, yeah, yeah,
unnecessary. Yeah,
yeah,
obnoxious.
yeah. It's just yeah. It's just academics not asking people correctly when they were
Yeah.
doing the studies.
Whose turn is it? Is it my turn?
But yes, I believe
Okay,
so.
$10 from Shiloh, who says, hashtag Team Josie out of solidarity because I'm also running on coffee today. No vegan food at the company party. What have I
Oof,
haven't
I
eaten yet
feel
today
that.
either. Tea and water is all I've had
Uh,
today.
oh gosh. What is up
And I'm
with
about to do
us?
another show.
Self-care, everybody. Self-care, people. Let's do this. $10 from Erdenaj. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that. Going to have to catch the void later, about 150 miles to drive to terminal, with 35 miles to home. Beyond exhausted. Hashtag Team Josie. Need more people like her at all levels of government. Good luck. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And remember, you can always donate at josiefrommaryland.com, and then I'm putting my Zerba link in the chat now. We have been getting some donations throughout the show. Be one of the cool people.
True.
Yeah.
Thank you for $5 from Alyashana Silverbow, who says, I found a book called How to Solve 50% of Your Problems. So I bought two. Hashtag math, hashtag Team Josie.
Yeah,
Well
there you
done.
go.
That was good.
Yeah. It's diminishing returns. You got diminishing returns. You're not going to get the full 50. It's not
Yeah,
just
yeah,
not
you're
going to
only gonna
happen.
get like 80 total, like 30% on
Yeah.
the second one.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. $5 from Mirage3304. Went to the wrong window today, and and I was casually met with, "Are you here for a regular mammogram?" Hashtag euphoria. Hashtag Team Josie. No, just an ankle MRI.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Passing at the
Accidental
doctors.
allies. Yes, I love it.
9.99 from Louise Richardson has said, thank you, by the way. Luxander brought up an interesting idea. I'm one of those trans women who wanted to change from an early age. I almost could feel an invagination within myself, an innie, not an outie. Yeah, it's just something that I
Yeah.
hear from lots of people. I personally never get like phantom limb or anything, but yeah, that's what I hear from people.
Yeah. Yeah. Fun fact, trans women don't have phantom limb, while a cis man that loses their penis definitely does.
So
Yeah,
true.
it's a very interesting thing. Yeah. So it's like the brain map distinction's already there. Like there's yeah, it's interesting. That's you.
Is that one yours? Oh, is it mine? Canadian $5 from D20
No,
says,
maybe
"Hey,
not.
Josie and Lux, I'm a recent trans, and there are many questions I don't think about that gets answers on these shows. So thanks a lot. Hashtag Team Josie." Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I didn't even think to ask that.
Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad that it's helpful.
Yeah. $5 from Bram Lacey X. God damn it, when your boss texts you in the middle of work. Go fuck yourself, Jimmy. Hashtag Team Lux. Yep.
Yeah. He straight up called me while I was on my own stream. I'm like, I just told you I am streaming on Sundays. Like, don't, like, what you call, the next time I'm just going to be like, I'm going to answer the phone and be like on speaker. I'm like, you're on speaker on my stream. What are you going to do now?
Yeah.
Jimmy has notoriously the worst timing for calls. I
Mhm.
can't tell you how many
It's
times I've
true.
been like, you know what? I'm gonna shower before I produce the show, and I'll like turn the water on, and like my foot is going into the tub in Jimmy's call. That has happened to me at least 3 different times, and I'm like, bro, what?
That's so funny because that literally happened to me this week. Jimmy called me and I was like, I wasn't quite literally foot almost in the shower, but the water was running. I was there. I was like, okay, I'm going to answer this phone, see how quick like, and 30 seconds later, I was like, this is not going to be a quick phone call. So I turned off the water.
What is the
That's so
coincidence?
funny.
Is
Oh,
this
no way. I tell
coincidence or
him no.
something nefarious?
I'm just like, I will either call you back later or this is not happening. Cause yeah, no, Jimmy's call is not more important than a shower. Almost ever.
Fair enough. Showers, very important. $10 from Mr. Boricua,
Hit-
who says, "Missed the show today. Will watch back. I hope it was a good show. Well, never mind. I came on during Sam's call. You dishonest mook. Stop moving goalposts for fuck's sake. Get off your horse. Hashtag void." I feel like he came around. I feel like we got
I
somewhere
do.
with that one. So we'll see if he calls back. I already picked up the cat
Honestly,
earlier. He's sleeping.
I will say this. I will say this for Sam is that I do the big government putting their hands where they shouldn't belong, like doctor
I love
argument all
that.
the time. But most of the time, there's cognitive dissonance with callers. But I will give it to Sam. He was consistent. He was consistent with his logic of the fact that yeah, government shouldn't be getting involved in this,
Yeah.
and so for me, that was important. That was important. Yeah,
Okay, we
four
probably need to
dollars
speed through
from
these a little bit
Ashley
more.
Ray. Okay, I didn't
They're
realize there
still
were so
coming
many.
in.
$4.
Yeah.
Okay, $4 from Ashley Ray. Love, love, love this duo. I adore this space and amazing community you've cultivated. Hashtag Team Lux. Aw, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. $5 from Sentient Tree. Thank you. Says, unfortunate that Idiocracy and Wally were the most realistic future timelines. Happy Halloween. Hashtag Team Spooky Void. I have to make a video essay about Idiocracy someday. Other people have probably already
Mm,
made it, but I'm going to make another one.
There's a lot to it. The fact there's one of the things that I heard about that was really interesting is that there's very few female characters in Idiocracy
Totally.
because of the fact that it's like it's easier to use men as the dummies because women may not be so out of control stupid like they were, so there was only a couple, right? Because usually it was all based in like sex and sexism and stuff. So it was a really cool analysis on that.
That is
Five
cool.
dollars from Alexandra Silverbow. While walking on the beach, I heard a swimmer circled by a shark yelling for help. I just laughed and I knew that the shark wasn't going to help. Hashtag Team
Wow.
Josie.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
Thank you for the $10 New Zealand from Mountain Eucalyptus, who says, Emberly, she, her, formerly M, whichever. LOL. I'm so afraid, but I'm done letting that control me. It's Halloween here, so an easy anniversary to remember. Thank you both. Heart. Hashtag Team Lux. Hey, that sounds like you just came out, and I'm proud of you. That's tough. Happy
Yeah,
Halloween, and happy coming out day.
yeah.
I think I'm going to watch Rocky
Five
Horror
dollars
tomorrow.
from
That's how I'm going to celebrate Halloween.
uh, mm, $5. I have my qualms with with that show. $5 from
So does
at
everybody.
Green Gubador. I know. I might be a gender. Any book recommendations or other resources for exploring gender identity? Hashtag Team Lux. Any books on
Oh.
agender?
The reason why I landed
No?
on agender is because I'm fucking tired of thinking about it. So if you're fucking tired of thinking about it, you're probably agender. I don't have any resources. Sorry, I'm way past that point of my
Oh my
transition.
gosh.
Thank you for $5 from Mira G, who says, "Dang, YouTube messing me up. You know me as Mira G." I saw your comment earlier. Hashtag Team Josie.
Yeah.
Yeah, they keep flip flopping. It seemed like they were using the at usernames and then they switched back to your display name and now they're doing usernames again. I don't understand and I
Yeah.
have no control over it.
Yeah. $5 from Joshua Everett, 9887. Overall, good calls today. Josie and Lux are great about getting people to slow down and listen. Hashtag Team Josie for MD. Let's go. Yeah, I
Yes.
think we did do a pretty good job about that.
Yeah. Thank you for the £5 from Barbara, who says, "Old dog learning new tricks. Hashtag Team Lux." Indeed. I don't know
Yeah.
what this is in reference to, but thank you.
Thank you. I agree. 9.99 from Fear Quinn. How do I respond to ICE/police violence when it happens right in front of me? Reciprocating violence can only escalate, but I can't live with myself if I don't try to stop it from happening then and there. Record it, video it, got to do it. If you don't, then there's no evidence to help get that person free. Pull out your phones, tell others to pull out their phones, get everybody to pull out their phones and say, "Go away, we don't want you here." That's about all you can do. Don't put your hands on them, but pull out your phones, and then that's the best thing you can do right now. That's what Governor Pritzker has said in Chicago, and it has been working.
Yeah. If you don't trust yourself to not physically intervene, do not go to a protest. Thank you for $9.99 from QA Colin, who says, "IDK if the group name is anything official, but the sit-in is being organized, the fiber arts thing is being organized by Daniela Mestianek, young of knitting cult lady, expert on cults, extreme groups, and extremely bad leadership." Okay, I'll check out knitting
Oh,
cult
okay.
lady. Appreciate that.
Mhm. $5 from Joshua Everett 9887. Jimmy's call timing, proof of supernatural paperclip psychic powers. You decide. Yep.
Thank you for the 5 Canadian from Quantum Chaos says, "Hey now, friends, let's give a shout out to our wonderful producer today. Hashtag Team Arden." True. Arden is the best producer. And I say that
Yeah,
as a
Arden
producer.
is great. $20 Canadian from Canadian Goose 007. Love the show today. I've been meaning to call in, but I'm always working. I think I might be non-binary, but not sure what gender in the umbrella category specifically. Any reference suggestions? Hashtag Team Lux.
Experiment. Figure it out. Have your friends try different pronouns on you, put on lipstick and makeup and see how it make you feel. I don't know, man. Like, I am so not the person to ask about which specific gender identity you have. Like, I have literally always been irritated by that behavior, where people are like, I'm a gender fluid demi boy, except sometimes something else. Like, I don't know. I find it so obnoxious. Like, since I was a kid first figuring this out, I've been like, that doesn't make sense to me. I'm just going to try to keep things simple. Genderqueer, broad terminology that doesn't really necessarily mean anything specific. So then I can just do whatever I want to do. That's my approach. Do whatever I want to do. The labels come after. Anyway,
Yeah,
that's the
that's fair.
show. Well, except that we have a punishment now. What did we end up winning
Yeah,
on the punishment? Trump
Ballroom
ballroom for
for
drag
ballroom.
balls only.
Are you ready?
I lost, right? That's what happened?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I wasn't
It
watching,
was
but I was like, I think that that's what's
unceremonious,
happening.
unceremoniously.
Yeah, it
Go.
was not even close this time. Okay, Trump ballroom for drag balls only. Okay, so the building previously was like full of asbestos and nobody wanted to be in there. It just wasn't a good time. Now they're tearing everything down, and we have an unprecedented opportunity to make the White House. We need like a rainbow room in the gay room of like the White House, because like it's like the White House is like a cloud, and then there's like a rainbow coming out of the cloud or hiding inside the cloud, perhaps. So we're going to redo the ballroom. This is Trump's big plan. Okay. We're going to redo the ballroom. There's going to be, those crosswalks with the rainbows. The whole floor is going to be like that. Just the whole floor is going to be one big long rainbow. and there's going to be streamers across and like glitter everywhere. Oh my God, glitter literally everywhere. And it's going to be only exclusively for drag performances and drag balls. Which now that I say that word, I said the term drag balls, and like there's so many places that I could go with that, and I'm just not going to. But anyway, we need to dance, okay? We need happiness. We need to lead by example. So really what this is going to necessarily mean is that Trump is going to debut his drag persona, right? And that could be any number of things, you know. She could be Tangerine Sack. That would be a good start, you know. So sure, she's going to come out and preside over all the queens and the kings, because can't forget the drag kings. They're a very important part of the scene. And yeah, it's just going to be, you know, there's going to be a kai afterwards, and it's going to be so fun. And if you go in the bathroom, there's there's going to be holes in some of the walls, because drag in the Trump White House, you know, it's going to be freaky sexually. You know, nothing that Trump is involved in is going to not be freaky sexually. So it's definitely going to be bordering on, and then there's maybe going to be an attached sauna, which Trump is very excited about. So you should be excited too.
Yeah. I will say this, you have now convinced me on why Santos was pardoned.
Oh yeah.
Because now because George Santos is a drag queen, so he needs to get training, and he
Hmm.
needed to pardon his drag queen friend to help him get into the drag persona,
He needed
you
a drag
know?
mother. Duh.
He needed a drag mother. That now it all makes sense. Yeah, now it's all coming together. Yes,
All
I
coming
love it.
together.
I love it. It's all coming together. So make sure you stay on for the Jimmy shows,
With
calling it
me.
now, and with Lux. And we were able to raise $196 so far from the stream from a bunch of folks. So make sure to continue to give. Somebody said it's a Josie tax. Yeah, that's what's going to be. So make sure you pay your Josie tax, because hashtag Team Josie needs a tax to sustain itself now, because it's become such a large thing. So make sure you do that, and go to josieformaryland.com. Do that. Do it now. It's important. We need to have a very good Halloween. Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
I want to hit end. That was such
Great.
a beautiful bow, but I need 4 more minutes, so I'm just
Yeah,
gonna sit
we
here
need
and
to.
You
vamp with
need
you
4
guys.
more minutes.
Yeah, we just vamp for a couple more minutes because we're
It's
trying to
fine.
end
Yeah,
right at
yeah.
5.
Honestly,
So
it's
And right at
easiest
5.
when we get to this point, and then there's nothing left, and we can just vamp for the last few minutes. That makes the
yeah,
transition kind of the easiest. So,
Yeah, that's
it's very
true. That's
good.
true. So I'll ask, what is this? What do y'all think of this color combination? This pink and this gray? Like, I'm starting to like it. I kind of did something similar the other day, and I'm just like, the
oh, I
gray on
love.
pink doesn't look bad. Yeah, right.
Especially with
It's
the
actually pretty
necklace, the
nice.
darker, more saturated pink
Yeah,
on it, it complements it really well.
Yeah,
yeah.
you
I think it's pretty
reminded me
solid.
of a salmon.
A salmon. Okay. I don't know
Yeah,
how I feel
like,
about that, but
well,
I'll
there's the
take it.
joke of like of the salmon being like, "Oh, you named a color after me. Oh, is it like a lovely gray green color?" And like, no, it's this pink color. Like, why is it that pink color? Why is it that pink? Because it's the insides of the salmon, and it's like existential horror. But you have the
Yes.
salmon color and then the gray color, so
Oh,
you are a
It's
true.
true.
salmon.
It's
Okay,
true.
now I follow. Now
It's
I follow
true.
more. I'm with it.
Now I get it. Now I get it. Yes, but this is the salmon color. This is
Mhm.
actually that. But no, it's a really great dress. I love this dress. It's so
Ooh, yeah,
nice.
it looks
It's a
nice.
really
That material
yeah
looks nice too.
yeah. The material is nice, and it goes like to my knees. I just feel very powerful in it.
It
It's
is
always good to
Mhm.
definitely
have a power
giving
outfit.
power. Yes, yes, absolutely. It's giving
Yeah.
politician. It's giving power outfit. I like it.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, making sure I'm nailing it. Gotta nail it. Yeah.
Let's check
Oh my
Jimmy's
goodness. But
channel.
the
Sometimes he'll go
the
live a
but
little
but
early.
yeah. So yeah, it's a good time. I hope everybody has a wonderful Halloween. I hope you're all enjoying spooky season. It's always good.
Yes.
Uh spooky season is fun.
My
It is.
friend
You
is
know,
about to move up here, and I'm so excited because he's from Kansas like we are, and he's going to come up here and move up here, and I get to do Friendsgiving this year. So
Aw, that's
I'm
nice.
excited I get to do
aw,
that. Yeah. And
that's
also we
super great.
explained
It's
why COVID sucks, and he was like, "Oh, I'll start wearing a mask so that I can come hang out." And I'm like, and not have to worry about wearing a mask at your house. And I was like, "Yes!" Protecting one of my best friends from getting long COVID and being able to hang out without having to run an air filter in my house. Like, yeah, so that's the good news from my life right now.
I'm so annoyed they made it
Very
so you
yeah,
can't
excited.
that's
get
fun.
vaccines without being like every place I go, they're like, "Oh, do you
Yeah.
have this many disorders or are over this age?" And I'm like, "Nope." And they're like, "Yeah, we don't do that
I
then."
would just say, like, my
Well,
doctor told me to come here and get it.
I thought
I would
about
be like, I'm
lying.
not
I was like, I don't
disclosing
think
all
they're
of
gonna
my
check me, but
yeah,
you
they're
know.
Yeah,
not.
I don't
And
really
you
see a
know,
problem
and
with
now
being like
now
what
you
were we
can
gonna say,
catch
Josie?
COVID from roving rhesus monkeys. Like a roving monkey can now give you COVID. You know,
Yeah.
that's the new thing.
That's true.
Did you hear about
We're
that?
gonna
I
have
thought
the
you said
simian
racist
flu.
monkeys at first, but yes, the
No,
research monkey.
rhesus.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
There's one
yeah.
monkey that they didn't
Like
find.
those.
It's time for the simian flu.
Yeah,
Caesar, rise up.
yeah.
All right.
Yes,
We hit 5.
exactly.
Whether they're alive or not, it's their problem now.
Okay, stick around and chat. We're going to do Calling It
Aw.
Now with me and Jimmy next. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Don't forget to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/calltheline. We have 2 line cons coming up in November, and there is one in December as well that will be free. So if you want to join a free membership as well on our Patreon, that is an option. But if you pay, you can get on the list of names, have your name on the credits, and we love you and goodbye.
Love you. Bye.